subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The dark part of her has taken over the body and gained a new life. Dark side Qian Rinshue's gaze fell on Lu Haoli, and a flash of surprise flashed in her eyes. He is also a dark existence? Chapter 109 The King of the Dark World. Is he also a being of darkness? Looking at Lu Haoli, dark Qian Rinshue seemed to be able to see an unobstructed physical body. In her eyes, every part of Lu Haoli's body was made of dark aura. She is the dark side of Qian Rinshue. She does not share the same memory and abilities with Qian Rinshue, but is a completely independent existence. Dark Qian Rinshue has her own consciousness and abilities. She even knows better than Qian Rinshue about the legend of the angel god. As a person born from darkness, how could she not see that Lu Haoli is just like her? Born of darkness. Unfortunately, dark Qian Rinshue misunderstood something. Lu Haoli was not born from darkness like her. The two are both dark, but they cannot be compared. When the coverage of the Shadow Tomb realm is large enough to cover the whole world, ultimate darkness will usher in. By then, Lu Haoli would be the king of the dark world and the creator of darkness, and dark Qian Rinshue was just the first dark life form he created. After falling from the air to the ground, dark Qian Rinshue walked towards Lu Haoli. A pair of slender legs were intertwined in an orderly manner. Every step was accompanied by a slender waist twisting. The curvature of the waist was like a water snake, smooth and sexy. Seeing such a fallen angel walking towards her, she was gorgeous in appearance, with 4 black wings on her chest, and behind her swaying as she walked. Lu Haoli was fortunate that he already had evil attributes and was very capable of controlling evil thoughts in his heart. If it had been any other man, he would have been shaken by her until his whole body went limp and his heart was itching unbearably. Looking at the approaching dark Qian Rinshue, Lu Haoli felt a little ashamed. He was now extremely convinced that Qian Rinshue had definitely retained her self-awareness after being darkened by the shadow contract. There are only 2 situations in which the evil thought's body in the blackened state can be conscious. First, the owner of the evil thought's body has much higher mental power than the caster. Second, the owner of the evil thought body is far more powerful than the caster. Qian Rinshue is already powerful in terms of mental power, and her soul power is 7 levels higher than Lu Haoli's. When she was darkened by the shadow contract and gained strength far beyond her original strength, her overall strength may have been much stronger than Lu Haoli's, so only then will there be self-awareness. However, the behavior of this dark Qian Rinshue is very different from the original Qian Rinshue. The style has suddenly changed, and her movements are full of charm, and she vividly interprets the style of the fallen angel. Lu Haoli judged from this that the consciousness of dark Qian Rinshue's existence did not belong to Qian Rinshue, but was most likely Qian Rinshue's dark side personality. Light and darkness are in opposition. Qian Rinshue's family is so bad, and her mother's martial arts spirit is still a dark and evil existence. Therefore, it is not surprising that the bright Qian Rinshue has a dark personality hidden in her heart. Seeing dark Qian Rinshue approaching him step by step, Lu Haoli immediately released the shadow mask bones, and black and gold textures emerged from his face one after another, outlining a face that seemed human and inhuman, and finally condensed into a black mask. The moment the entire face was covered by the black mask, the mask's eyes flashed with scarlet blood, and the texture on the mask gave people a creepy sense of oppression against the blood. The shadow mask bone has not been fully integrated with the body yet, and does not have any physical attributes enhancement, but it can make it easier for Lu Haoli to control the evil thought body. With the assistance of this externally attached soul bone, it should be enough to control this darkened Qian Rin. It's snowing. A mesmerizing black wind blew towards his face. The moment Lu Haoli put on the shadow mask, dark Qian Rinshue was already in front of him, putting one hand on his shoulder and the other gently lifting his chin slightly. The red lips were close at hand, and Yao Zhong's somewhat charming voice sounded in his ears. "Why are you wearing a mask? Are you shy when you see me? Don't worry, my sister won't eat it. I will only love you well, as he spoke, and He Qian Rinchua's fingers that lifted up Lu Baoyang's chin gently slid down until they reached the center of Lu Baoyang's chest. The soft touch stopped on his chest, and a fascinating and evil aura lingered around him, which really made him feel uncomfortable. Some people are itchy and unbearable. If they can't control evil thoughts at will, who can resist the deliberate temptation of fallen angels? With the blessing of the shadow mask bone, Lu Baohai was not seduced by the charming voice, and he tentatively shouted, "Kneel down." Suddenly, as if being ordered, He Qian Rinchua couldn't help but kneel down. In a daze, she was already kneeling in front of Lu Bao, with a trace of surprise on her cold face, staring at Lu Bao blankly. Bad waste. Seeing this scene, Lu Bao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the shadow mask bone has strengthened the control of evil thoughts, allowing him to easily control the self-aware evil thoughts. Just as he knelt down, Dark Qian Rinchua knelt down. That's the best evidence. The calmness on He Qian Rinchua's face completely disappeared. Although she was kneeling, there was a bit of confusion and chill in her beautiful eyes. She didn't understand why she would obey such a ridiculous order, leaving her alone in the dark world. An angel with a high status kneels down to a mortal? How could she agree? However, her body was not controlled by her consciousness, and she really knelt in front of a mortal in the body of an angel. What did you do? Lu Baoyang did not directly answer the question of Dark Qian Rinchua. He pressed her head with his right hand and slowly raised her gaze, reminding her, as the dark side of Qian Rinchua, you do have a high status in the dark world. However, you have to understand that you are just an angel in the dark world, and I am the master of the dark world. I can create a black angel, and I can also create a second one. As a created dark body, of course, you must be unconditional, obey the command of your creator. Hearing this, Douluo Qian Ringshu snorted coldly. That's ridiculous. You said you created me. Currently, Lu Bao squatted down and held her chin with his right hand. The cold eyes under the mask stared into her eyes. If you don't believe it, I can make you disappear right now. As he spoke, Lu Baoli raised his left hand, and a reduced version of the black soul ring floated on the palm of his hand. As long as he squeezed the reduced version of the soul ring, the fifth soul skill shadow contract would be released, and Qian Rinchua would be free. It will return to its original state, and the darkness in front of Qian Rinchua will naturally disappear into ashes. Su glanced at the miniature black soul ring on Lu Baolan's palm, and Dark Qian Rinchua suddenly realized that she who thought it was light fell into darkness. But it turned out that she was affected by the soul skill of the person in front of her who could create darkness, so she could take the opportunity to occupy it. Qian Rinchua's body dominance comes out for a breather. Just when Lu Baolian was about to squeeze the small black ring on his palm, Dark Qian Rinchua finally shouted, "Slow down." What? Do you believe it? Under the shadow mask, Lu Baoli's voice was obviously more cold and oppressive. Believe it. And He Qian Rinchua's attitude suddenly changed, and her cold face returned to its previous calmness and calmness. She seemed to be smiling, but not smiling, and said respectfully, "As a being of darkness, of course I can see that you are in the dark world. Your status is higher than mine. This realm full of darkness and evil is like an endless dark world. You must have created it, right? For those of us who live in darkness, this realm is really a wonderful place." Woolen cloth. At this point, and He Qian Rinchua's eyes moved down, looking at Lu Bao's hand holding her chin, and said in a charming voice, "Great king, can you let me go now? Or do you want to do this to me?" What kind of punishment? Lu Baoli let go of his hand, stood up, and released the Shadow Tomb realm, and the surrounding environment returned to the appearance of a dark mountain forest. Only then did He Qian Rinchua feel that her consciousness could control her body at will, and she stood up. She didn't dare to speak with that arrogant attitude for a while, and asked, "Then what should I do now? You don't just want me to, can you come out and get some air? Didn't you say that the light is fragile and vulnerable?" Just in time, I will let you meet the bright you and have a good battle. You should be looking forward to this moment, right? As he spoke, Lu Baohai injected another third of his soul power into the fifth soul ring, and activated the second control effect of the 5th soul skill Shadow Contract. A thick dark aura shrouded Dark Qian Rinchua's body. When the black aura faded, changes visible to the naked eye appeared on her body. Her white hair turned back to blonde. Her black clothes turned back to platinum. Her appearance, temperament, and personality, everything had changed back to Qian Rinchua's original appearance. Looking around the gloomy forest with confused eyes, Qian Rinchua seemed to have lost a memory, and her eyes were full of confusion. Her memory still lingered on the scene where she was about to use her 6th soul skill during her soul fight with Lu Haoli. After that, she was unconscious for a long time, as if she was separated from the world and fell into sleep, unaware of the outside world. The world knows nothing. Lu Baoyang, what happened just now? Qian Rinchua looked at Lu Baoyan and said with sudden realization, "Does your 5th soul skill have a control effect similar to silence or putting people to sleep?" "No." The face under Lu Baoyang's mask smiled. "You will know soon." As soon as the voice fell, the dark Qian Rinchua, who had disappeared without a trace, strolled up from behind Qian Rinchua. The 4 black wings swaying behind her brought a dense dark aura, and a lazy and charming voice sounded. "I have indeed been looking forward to this moment for a long time. Great King, thank you for allowing us to meet, and I will love her very much." Qian Rinchua looked in the direction of the charming voice behind her and was stunned for a moment. Her face was not only confused, but also a bit horrifying. She saw a person who looked exactly like herself walking towards her. Such a weird feeling. Everyone will feel uneasy and afraid of unknown things. Apart from himself, the one who was most surprised was the Dolphin Doa, who was watching the battle from a distance. He had been paying attention to the battle between Qian Rinchua and Lu Baoyang the whole time. From the moment Qian Rinchua's angelic realm was shattered by the black dragon shadow, Aegis Douluo couldn't understand. First, Qian Rinchua was suddenly affected by the dark aura, and her appearance and temperament changed drastically, and then she returned to her original appearance. And finally, the white-haired Qian Rinchua and the blonde Qian Rinchua appeared at the same time. All these strange phenomena can only be explained by the illusion. Lu Baoli's 5th soul ring was obtained by hunting the Shadow Lord, so his 5th soul skill must have inherited some of the Shadow Lord's special abilities. Perhaps it was to use darkness to guide the victim's heart, thus causing the victim to fall into darkness. In the illusion, I saw myself in darkness. This can explain why there are 2 Qian Renshus appearing at the same time, and they are existences with completely opposite temperaments. However, Galileo didn't understand that if it was Lu Bai's 5th soul skill that allowed Qian Rinchua to see the dark side of her heart, then why could she, who was watching, also see the dark side of Qian Rinchua? Could it be that he was also controlled by the illusion caused by darkness? Or maybe this is not an illusion, and the 2 completely opposite Qian Rinchua in front of her are real? Thinking of this, Elephant Doa's expression suddenly darkened. How could Lu Baoli's 5th soul skill be so special? To visualize the dark side of the human heart and turn it into a real, independent entity? Can this kind of dark attribute soul skill also affect Seraphim soul masters who possess light and sacred attributes? Galileo really couldn't believe what he saw and heard just now. Seeing the 2 young masters standing together, he didn't know which one he should worry about. Chapter 110 Martial Soul Fusion Skill. Watching the white-haired self walking towards him step by step, Qian Rinchua quickly thought of various possibilities. If this was the result of Lu Bai's 5th soul skill, then the white-haired self in front of her should be related to darkness. Is it an illusion? Are you facing your inner darkness or inner demons in a fantasy world? El Bao Bao, what's going on? Qian Rinchua was about to turn around and ask Lu Bao Bao, but her sight was blocked by the dark Qian Rinchua who appeared in front of her. The unknown enemy suddenly approached, and Qian Rinchua, who was on the highest level of vigilance, immediately retreated a few meters. 6 soul rings lit up, and a golden sword condensed in his hand to point directly at the dark Qian Rinchua. To Qian Rinchua's surprise, the white-haired girl disappeared like a ghost as soon as she appeared, giving people a feeling that was both real and illusory. When Qian Rinchua relaxed her vigilance, the white-haired girl came to her side at some point. His cold hands first caressed her face, and then hugged her waist and performed all kinds of tricks on her. "Tease! Are you so afraid to face the darkness in your heart? But that's right. You are not bright. There is desire and selfishness hidden in your heart. Just like the hypocritical angels and gods, you use justice and light to hide the crimes you have committed. Fault. A seductive voice sounded in Qian Rinxue's ears. When she looked toward the voice, she could only see a purple phantom. The next moment, the same sentence appeared in the direction of her other ear. Qian Rinxue swung her sword, and the sword edge brought a golden light across, but still could only hit an afterimage. The dark Qian Rinxue had long since disappeared, haunting her and constantly bewitching her with various words. What you call justice is actually to make up for the consequences of your own selfish desires. You gain the trust of others through this deceptive method, and you just want to complete the latent plan and prove your ability in order to get the hands of that woman. It's just to take back the spirit hall. Admit it. Admit your bad intentions. Admit the selfishness of your angel clan. Listening to the bewitching voice word by word, Qian Rinxue finally locked onto the trace of dark Qian Rinxue, and the golden long sword slashed down behind her. There was a clang. The golden long sword collided with the black long sword, making a muffled sound of metal collision. After catching the enemy, Qian Rinxue immediately launched an offensive, swinging the golden long sword frequently with extremely tricky attack angles. Each sword almost stabbed dark Qian Rinxue's neck, heart, and other locations. Unfortunately, every move Qian Rinxue made was blocked by dark Qian Rinxue in advance, as if her heart had been completely penetrated. The two of them were intertwined, and the golden and black sword strikes kept colliding with each other, making clanging sounds. Finally, Qian Rinxue was kicked several meters away by dark Qian Rinxue before she stabilized her figure. Her moves are very similar to mine. This is not an illusion, and she is not my inner demon. Could it be a clone created by soul skills? Qian Rinxue cast a glance at Lu Haoli, who was watching the show from the corner of her eye. She finally had some clues. The white-haired self in front of him must be the dark body copied from Lu Bai's fifth soul skill based on himself. No wonder every move he made was seen through. Since she is a dark body, how can I lose to her? While thinking, Qian Rinxue was about to launch a counterattack, but unexpectedly, under the influence of the dark Qian Rinxue's fourth soul skill, fallen angel free will, her whole figure, he was deprived of his freedom. His hands were bound and hung up by the dark aura, and he was unable to move. Dark Qian Rinxue appeared like an illusion behind Qian Rinxue, who was hung up by her hands, approached her, hugged her. Their bodies were pressed tightly together, and the bewitching voice kept echoing in her ears. Don't hide the darkness in your heart. Come and fall into the darkness with me. This way you can get rid of the false light and be your true self. Under the guidance of Diablo Qian Rinxue's words, Qian Rinxue recalled her past experiences. Who knows how much darkness she has experienced in her heart despite her bright appearance. Ever since Qian Rinxue became sensible, she has been enduring her mother's cold face. When she was 9 years old, her father died and left her. It was also in that year that she began to implement the plan to lurk in the Tiando Imperial Palace. She left her grandfather's side, killed Shui Qingyi with her own hands, and poisoned other princes. She concealed her identity in the political intrigues of the Tiando Empire and looked like a man, live and hide it from everyone. Needless to say, there are difficulties and dangers involved. Years of lurking are also an important reason why Qian Rinxue only values interests and values. Except for bathing in that light-filled room every noon, almost all the things she experienced were extremely dark and evil. Hiding her true identity all day long, Qian Rinxue also learned to hide the darkness in her heart, so she was unwilling to face the darkness and the bad things she had done. Trapped in memories, Qian Rinxue's eyes gradually lost their light. The word shadow engraved on the back of her hand became darker and darker, and the darkness in her heart was once again guided and magnified. But just before her eyes completely lost their luster, she suddenly cheered up. She had not given up on the latent plan she had been hiding for so many years. Now, how could she be deceived by her dark side? The seraph martial spirit suddenly appeared, and the surging golden light caused Qian Rinxue to break free from the control of dark Qian Rinxue's soul skill. The sacred light flicked dark Qian Rinxue away like a repulsive force, and the golden light once again enveloped the entire canyon. Diablo Qian Rinxue stabilized her figure in the air and was about to release her fallen angel spirit when she was interrupted by Lu Baobao's voice. Okay, stop bullying her. Dark Qian Rinxue was naturally not happy to be suddenly told to stop when she was having fun, but her appearance was due to Lu Baoli's soul skills, and her body was unable to resist Lu Baoli's orders. In desperation, Dark Qian Rinxue had no choice but to stop attacking and give up on bewitching and teasing Qian Rinxue. When she came to Lu Baoan's side, Anhei Qian Rinxue said with a hint of displeasure, "Why? You see I'm bullying her. Are you feeling distressed?" "It's not that I feel bad." Lu Baobao looked at Qian Rinxue, who was stagnant in the air, and said with a smile, "I just want to ask you to come over and prepare to use the martial soul fusion skill." Lu Baoan, if you want to use the darkness in my heart to defeat me, then I advise you to give up this plan. Under the protection of the light of the Seraphim's martial soul, Qian Rinxue's mental state completely returned to normal. Her golden eyes looking directly at Lu Bai, he said with an extremely serious and firm expression, "The glory of the angel clan will never be allowed to be tainted by darkness. Show your true strength." "Okay, as you wish." As he said that, the strange eyes under Lu Baohai's mask winked at the dark Qian Rinxue beside him. After receiving the order, dark Qian Rinxue moved lightly, turned around, and walked around behind Lu Baoyang, standing back to back. The soul ring and martial spirit on his body appeared at the same time. The surging soul power aura blended together, and the shadow mask bones the attached skill. Evil thought fusion is activated. The moment the black seraph martial spirit and the shadow martial spirit appeared together, the entire mountain forest was shrouded in a layer of black, and the wind of darkness swept up. A layer of dazzling black light appeared on the bodies of Lu Baolei and Anhei Qian Rinxue at the same time. The two of them were close to each other back to back. The fallen angel martial soul and the shadow martial soul also turned into black auras at this moment, blending with each other, lingering, and condensed into a black ball of light facing outward. Spreading in an instant, the black ball of light had covered nearly half of the mountain forest. The intense energy fusion caused the earth to tremble and the mountains and forests to tremble. Facilitated by the shadow mask bone skill, evil thought fusion, Lu Baol and Dark Qian Rinxue's martial soul fusion skill, Dark Angel of Purgatory. Launch! In the black ball of light, the two original human beings merged and turned into a warrior covered in black armor. The black ball of light covering half of the mountain forest suddenly shrank to a point and turned into a pair of black wings behind the black armored warrior. The wings were spread wide, the black feathers scattered, and a huge dark aura swept across all directions instantly. Seeing an armored warrior 3 meters away appear in front of her eyes, Qian Rinxue, who was stagnant in the air, finally understood that the white-haired, she was an evil thought body created by Lu Baoli's fifth soul skill. The white-haired she at this moment, the skill used by Lu Bao, was a fusion move attached to the soul bone. Doesn't that mean that Lu Haobao can use skills similar to martial soul fusion skills with the evil thoughts of all soul masters? Thinking of this, Qian Rinxue's face changed greatly. This was the first time she encountered this special soul bone skill. Moreover, watching Lu Baobao and her dark self perform martial soul fusion skills, she had an indescribable feeling in her heart. The leader of the martial soul fusion skill activated under the skill of the shadow mask bone must be Lu Bao, while the evil thought body only plays a supporting role. At this moment, Lu Baolio, whose whole body is wrapped in the armor of the fallen angel, is the form of the Dark Angel of Purgatory, formed after merging with Dark Qian Rinxue, activating the huge energy in his body. The black armor on Lu Hao's body ignited the black and purple purgatory fire. This is a kind of flame that is a mixture of the 4 elemental attributes of darkness, evil, ice, and fire. Using purgatory fire to fight, each move can make the surrounding enemies trapped in ice and flames. It is easy to defeat them. Symptoms of cold poison and fire poison appear. The evil attributes attached to the purgatory fire will corrode the enemy's spirit. When the spirit is shattered by the purgatory fire, the spirit will be lost forever. The dark attribute attached to the fire of purgatory will also swallow the enemy's soul power, constantly consuming the enemy's willpower, physical strength, and mental strength. In the state of the Purgatory Dark Angel's martial soul fusion skill, the soul power level generated by the combined soul power of Lu Haoli and Douluo God is already above level 70, which can completely defeat a person with a martial soul's real body activated. The powerful Soul Saint. Douluo was one of the top strongmen. Even a figure like him couldn't help but look a little heavier when he saw the purgatory fire igniting on Lu Haoli, who was wearing black armor. The martial soul fusion skills used by Meng Shu, who was in his 80s and above, and Chao Tianxiang, who was in his 60s, were already on par with title Douluo. Therefore, Gallic and Douluo firmly believe that when Lu Hao reaches level 70 and uses this martial soul fusion skill, he will definitely be able to kill a strong man like him who has just entered the title Douluo. The soul rings and soul bones produced by this Shadow Lord were absorbed by the same Dark Soul Master, and they were able to produce such a powerful soul skill effect. Now let me show you how vulnerable light is in the face of darkness. The person who said this was the combination of Lu Haoli and Enhei Qianrenxue. In the state of martial soul fusion skills, their voices overlap together. Hearing this oppressive voice, and then looking at the armored warrior whose whole body was ignited with black purgatory fire, Qianrenxue's face turned extremely ugly. She couldn't even defeat the normal Lu Haoli, so how could she possibly defeat Lu Haoli and the dark side herself? Martial soul fusion skills? Chapter 111. I hate flowers. The black wings on the back of the armor spread out, and Lu Haoli's body slowly floated up as if out of the control of gravity, stopping at the same height as Qianrenxue. The surrounding air was distorted by the purgatory fire of the armor's burning armor. In close combat, the enemy had to endure the purgatory fire if they wanted to touch Lu Bao's body. If you want to really hurt Lu Bao, you must use a powerful attack to damage him through the armor's defense. Otherwise, the armor will be immune to all low-burst, low-damage attacks. Maintaining the armor form of the Dark Angel of Purgatory requires a large amount of soul power. The fifth soul skill, Shadow Contract, strips the body of evil thoughts from the owner, which is another huge consumption of soul power. It stands to reason that Lu Hao's soul power should have been exhausted at this moment, but the purgatory fire burning on his armor is getting stronger and stronger, which means that his soul power has not weakened at all, and is even in a state of increasing. His soul power only increases rather than decreases. This phenomenon that subverts common sense is all thanks to his external soul bone, the Shadow Mask. The skill attached to the Shadow Mask bone is the fusion of evil thoughts. In addition, it can also swallow the evil thoughts of living beings. Lu Haoli can first lock on the shadow of a living being, and then use the Shadow Mask bone to swallow the evil thoughts in the living body, thereby converting it into his own energy. This energy conversion can be to use evil thoughts to restore one's physical strength and soul power, or to turn evil thoughts into an increase in strengthening energy attacks. At this moment, Lu Badu was devouring the evil thoughts in his heart, and then converting the evil thoughts into his own soul power and physical strength. This is why his soul power only increases but never decreases. As long as there are evil thoughts in his heart, Lu Haoli's soul power and physical strength will be continuously supplied and will never be exhausted. Turning evil thoughts into power is the difference between this 50,000-year-old Shadow Mask bone and other externally attached soul bones. When fighting or doing other things, try to keep yourself angry, hating, all kinds of negative emotions or improper thoughts. Then Lu Haoli will have endless physical and soul power, and he will be as tireless as the Black Shadow Core fight. The more you fight, the stronger you become. However, there is a price to pay for frequently squeezing the evil energy within you. After the evil energy in his heart is overdrawn, Lu Haoli will become full of a sense of justice, and will also become desireless and indifferent to everything, just like a sage. The duration of this side effect is directly proportional to the evil energy squeezing the heart. Seeing the increasingly fierce black flames on Lu Bao's armor, Acorn Douluo's expression darkened, thinking that his young master had lost this soul fight. The fact was just as he expected. Lu Hao and Qianrenxue started a fierce battle in the air. With the fire of purgatory igniting in his hand, Lu Bao condensed a 5-foot black sword and flew towards Qian Rinxue. The blades of both sides collided with each other, making a clanging sound. In less than 2 rounds, Qian Rinxue was already in a suppressed state. She was burned by the flames of Lu Bao's armor, and almost every part of her body had slight burns and sword wounds. All the black flames gathered on the sword edge, and Lu Haoli slashed out with his sword. The flames of the sword edge formed a 10-meter black chop and shattered Qian Rinxue's golden sword. Qian Rinxue was counterattacked by the sword energy fire. Shue's body fell towards the ground, instantly creating a deep pit in the ground. When Qian Rinxue stood up and tried to fight back, Lu Baoyong, wearing black armor, had already come to her, with a black sword on her neck. "You lose." The overlapping voices of men and women reached Qian Rinxue's ears. For every soul master, losing means negating, denying the hard work so far, denying one's own strength and talent. Qian Rinxue has never failed, because once the latent plan fails, all efforts will be in vain. To ask her, a soul master who is very likely to be the successor to the divine throne in the future, to accept failure would be a bigger blow than anyone else. What's more, losing to an opponent with a lower level than her and 1 less soul ring than her. How could she be willing to do this? However, Qian Rinxue refused to admit defeat, but she admitted that she lost. The black armor on Lu Baoyong turned into light and dissipated, and the sword on Qian Rinxue's neck also disappeared. The martial soul fusion skill was released, and the dark Qian Rinxue had returned to the depths of Qian Rinxue's heart. The only person who appeared in front of Qian Rinxue was Lu Bao. Seeing the unwilling expression on Qian Rinxue's face, Lu Baohai reminded, "I told you if you lose, I won't help you with psychological counseling." Qian Rinxue frowned. "I said it too. I don't need you to provide me with psychological counseling. If you lose, you lose. I admit it. However, this does not mean that the Seraph martial spirit is weaker than your shadow martial spirit, nor does it means that the light will be defeated by the darkness. There is only one reason why I will lose, and that is because my actual combat experience is not as good as yours, which is why I lost today." Speaking of this, Qian Rinxue said bitterly, "I'm just unwilling. If I can use my martial soul true body, how can the angel realm be easily broken by you? The angel field is a field of talent. This field can only display its dominance in the true form of the martial spirit, and my shadow tomb field can grow without restriction. In this comparison, it is indeed me who occupies the field." Advantage. Lu Baoyan said, "The increase in one field can completely make up for the gap between 1 soul ring and 7-level soul power. You did lose unfairly. In this case, this competition does not count. When we all reach level 70, we will have what do you think of another fight after the martial soul's true form?" Hearing these words, Qian Rinxue's somewhat depressed mood suddenly became more relaxed, and the unwillingness on her face disappeared, and she said, "Okay, I will definitely make you unable to laugh at that time." Lu Baolan smiled and nodded, thinking that for such a proud and arrogant woman, it would be better to give her some face and give her a step down than to give her psychological counseling with all the truth. After Qian Rinxue has a goal, she will be more motivated to practice, and she will become stronger. Whether or not Lu Hao uses martial soul fusion skills with her or with her evil mind body, she can maximize her combat effectiveness. With such a powerful martial soul fusion skill, once he breaks through to the titled Douluo realm, he should have enough strength to hunt down those ferocious beast-level super soul beasts. Lu Hao was wondering if he could activate the trinity of martial soul fusion skills like Flanders, Lu Erlong, and Yu Xiaojing. If Qian Rinxue and Dark Qian Rinxue used the fusion skills of the 3 of them together with him, what kind of tyrannical power would be born? While thinking about it, Lu Baohai took out a green pill from the Ring Soul Guide and threw it to Qian Rinxue, saying, "This is the recovery pill I bought at the auction house. After taking it, it activates the soul power to promote the absorption of the medicine. The wounds on your body will heal quickly. Your physical condition will also recover." Taking the green pill, Qian Rinxue put it directly into her mouth without any doubts, sat cross-legged, and used her soul power to speed up the absorption of the medicine. She knew that Lu Haoli had no need to harm her. If she was suspicious of even such a trivial matter, then she would have developed a suspicious character by lurking in the palace for more than 10 years. Seeing that the two of them had finished fighting, ageless Douluo immediately appeared next to Qian Rinxue. Seeing that the young master was recovering, Ajetiga's tense face suddenly relaxed. Lu Haoli's attention was attracted by a plant growing under a tree. It was a large blue-purple flower with a corolla like a helmet and a black-gold color at the root, which was highly poisonous. According to the books of the Paklan, this large blue-purple flower is called the black spirit aconite flower. It is a plant that was born in dark places, and traces of this flower can only be found in dark places. The flowers of darkness all have some kind of allegorical meaning, among which the flower meaning of the black spirit aconite flower is malice. Most of the people who receive blessings from this flower are as vicious as a femme fatale. If you want to pick this flower, you must be a person with a bright heart or a person with dark attributes. Otherwise, once you touch this flower, the fragrance of the flower will most likely confuse your mind and increase your malice. The black spirit aconite flower is a plant with dark attributes. Its grade is higher than the treasures of heaven and earth, and it is ranked among the immortals. Even if the person who takes it is killed by thousands of arrows, or his soul and body are completely broken, he can still exist in the world in a malicious way. If there is some kind of container as the carrier of maliciousness, he will be resurrected. Lu Haoli squatted down and broke the root of the large blue-purple flower. After careful observation, he found that the plant was indeed the black spirit aconite flower. Among the immortals, it was at the same level as the Yoshiankilluo. If Yoshiankilluo Immortal is the best antitoxic herb, then black spirit aconite flower is the best life-saving herb. If you eat it, you can go through the gates of hell and return to the human world. What are you doing? Qian Rinxue finished absorbing the effect of the green pill and recovered from her injuries. She came to Lu Haoli and saw him smiling, so happily holding a blue-purple flower in his hand. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "Isn't it just a flower? How can it make you happy like this?" "Because I like flowers." As he said this, Lu Haoli stood up, handed the black spirit monkshood flower in his hand to Qian Rinxue, and said, "How about giving it to you?" Looking at the big blue-purple flower in front of her, Qian Rinxue seemed to recall some unpleasant past events. Her face suddenly turned ugly, and she shook her head. "Forget it, I hate flowers." "Then I won't give it away." Lu Haoli actually didn't intend to give it away. He just pretended to give it away casually so that others wouldn't think it was a treasure. Just after he finished speaking, Lu Haoli's attention was attracted by a black plant under the Shadow Lord's body. After escaping and coming to the body of the Shadow Lord, Lu Haoli could clearly see that this black plant also belonged to the dark attribute plant. The black spirit aconite flower just now was a rare species among immortals. The black plant growing under the body of the Shadow Lord is not an immortal product, nor is it a natural treasure. It is an all-too-common plant, blue-silver grass. This blue-silver grass is exactly the same in shape as ordinary blue-silver grass, but its color is completely composed of black. This is a mutant blue-silver grass that has evolved dark attributes. Dark blue-silver grass not only has strong vitality, but also has the devouring property of darkness. It can swallow the surrounding energy to increase its growth rate. Its growth rate is 10 times that of ordinary blue-silver grass. The dark blue-silver grass in front of me is only the size of an index finger, and its cultivation level is estimated to be less than 10 years. However, if it is planted near the ice and fire eyes, it will have the devouring attribute of darkness to accelerate growth and will be nourished by the ice and fire aura. Then it is very likely to grow at a rate of hundreds of times. In just a few years, it will become 100,000 or even 10,000 years of cultivation. However, in order to avoid species invasion, if you want to plant dark blue-silver grass near the eye of ice and fire, you must plant it in a place that does not affect the growth of other plants. While thinking about it, Lu Haoli had already taken out a shovel and dug out the dark blue-silver grass with its roots and soil, and put it into the Rui treasure bag together with the black spirit aconite flower just now. Seeing Lu Haoli digging for weeds, Qian Rinxue and Elephant Dole looked at each other and saw the confusion on each other's faces. They didn't understand why Lu Haoli was so excited when he saw these flowers and weeds. It was almost like he's become a different person. Array Doa suddenly said, "Young master, since he has obtained the 5th soul ring, my mission is over. The Pope still has a mission for me to perform, so it's time to go back to the Spirit Hall. After I leave, Soul Masters from the Soul Palace will be on duty in Death Canyon, so you don't have to worry about being threatened by powerful soul beasts. Go!" After answering, Qian Rinxue ordered, "Uncle Shui, if that woman asks you about hunting the soul beast this time, you must not take Lu Bao's 5th soul skill and soul bone skill. Tell her. I don't want her to get involved in matters related to Lu Bao. Follow your orders." After the voice fell, the figure of the array, Doa, escaped 1,000 meters away, and even his breath completely disappeared. Qian Rinxue walked to the semicircular stone formation, first looked at the body of the Shadow Lord, then looked at Lu Bao, and asked, "What on earth are you doing?" Lu Baohao put the dark blue silver grass with roots and soil into the Rui Bao, then hung the Rui Bao on his waist and said, "You are digging grass, can't you see it? Is there anything special about these flowers and plants?" Qian Rinxue was confused. Nothing special, just ordinary flowers and plants. But they are all contaminated with the darkness and evil atmosphere of this mountain forest. To me, they have a certain value. As he spoke, Lu Baohai picked up the shovel. His strange eyes flashed with cold light, and he used his clairvoyance ability to scan around the area. According to the books of the Paklan, there are many flowers and plants that are born from the dark environment. If the dark environment here can give birth to the Shadow Lord, a 50,000-year-old soul beast, it must also be able to grow a grade that is no less than a treasure of heaven and earth. Herbal medicine is the right thing. With his clairvoyance, he broke through the obstacles of numerous trees and discovered another dark plant. It was Black Ganoderma lucidum, a natural and earthly treasure. Black Ganoderma can enhance the body's resistance, purify the blood, and fundamentally improve human health. Most diseases can be treated with Black Ganoderma, which is definitely the best among Ganoderma. LV Bao Liang, before Qian Rinxue could finish speaking, Lu Bao had already used his ability to travel through shadows to escape to the location of the Black Ganoderma lucidum. Helpless, she had no choice but to sit down by the stone formation, close her eyes, and concentrate, meditating while reviewing the actual battle with Lu Baoli just now. Chapter 112. Qian Rinxue's past. It had been 3 years since the last actual sparring session with her grandfather. During these 3 years, Qian Rinxue had been lurking in the palace as Shui Qingyi, helping Emperor Shui Yi govern the country and recruit talents. All kinds of trivial matters. Only when you go to Tiando Royal Academy can you enter the light-filled room to practice. Therefore, she didn't have much time to practice in a day, let alone engage in actual combat with others. Qian Rinxue felt that the biggest reason why she lost to Lu Badi was not the suppression of the field, but the lack of actual combat experience. So she fell into Lu Bao's control. She was restrained step by step and slowly fell into passivity and disadvantage, and finally lost miserably. Now, I am no longer alone in carrying out the lurking plan in the Tiando Empire. With Lu Bao around, I can take the time to fight a few more soul battles with him to gain more practical experience and learn more practical skills. The next time she returns to Wuhuan Hall, her grandfather will be surprised when he helps her test her cultivation results. Thinking of this, an imperceptible smile appeared on Qian Rinxue's cold face. In the past, she always carried out latent plans alone and suffered everything silently. Now there is someone who knows her secret and is executing it with her at Tiando Royal Academy. The latent plan actually has a warm feeling. At this moment, a charming voice sounded deep in Qian Rinxue's heart. "You are bright, but why do you still yearn for the light?" That's because your heart is actually not bright, just like you long for a warm feeling because you feel lonely. Only people whose hearts are filled with darkness long for the embrace of light. Qian Rinxue's thoughts were interrupted by the voice inside her, and she opened her eyes suddenly. It was as if she had had a nightmare. Her eyes were full of horror, and a few drops of cold sweat broke out on her cold face. "It's her! Qian Rinxue knew that the person who spoke to her just now was the dark side of her heart. Ever since Lu Baobao used his fifth soul skill to materialize dark Qian Rinxue has always had a living consciousness peeking into her heart, and this living consciousness is none other than dark Qian Rinxue. She did not disappear completely, but returned to the depths of Qian Rinxue's heart and continued to exist as the dark side. The warmth you long for is actually given by a person who can create darkness. Isn't this enough to prove that what you yearn for in your heart is not light, but darkness? The bewitching voice of dark Qian Rinxue sounded again from the depths of Qian Rinxue's heart. Soon you will fall, and you will enjoy the embrace of darkness. Even if the person hugging you is not me, he is just like me. He is a being of the same darkness. No, he is darker than me, because he is the master of the dark world. He is the king of us dark bodies. Shut up, Qian Rinxue shouted with a cold light in her eyes. To outsiders, it seemed like she was talking to herself, but only she knew that she was resisting the dark self inside her. He gave you such a beautiful flower just now, but you said you hate flowers because you are afraid. When you see that flower, you are afraid that you will recall all the childish behaviors you did in front of that woman, right? Dark Thousand Qian Rinxue's voice made Qian Rinxue laugh in her heart. It was a kind of charming smile, with a bit of ridicule in the laughter. Qian Rinxue gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, and tried to stay calm. But the more she forced herself to calm down, the clearer Qian Rinxue's laughter was in her heart. Slowly, Qian Rinxue's thoughts were bewitched by the dark Qian Rinxue, and she recalled the unbearable past events when she was 6 years old, which she wanted to forget but could not forget. When she was 6 years old, Qian Rinxue awakened the Seraph Martial Soul, which gave her 20-level innate soul power. Every child who awakens an outstanding talent will always have a sense of joy in his heart, because it means that he is outstanding and his parental pride. Qian Rinxue was no exception. At the age of 6, she ran to her mother to show off her pride. She thought she would be praised by her mother, but instead she was met with hatred from her mother's cold eyes. Qian Rinxue will never forget those hostile eyes. She was obviously her mother, but she looked at her with a pair of enemy eyes, as if her own existence made her feel sick. Her eyes were so cold and determined. Hatred. When the Seraph Martial Spirit appeared in front of her mother, the resentment in her mother's eyes became even more intense. Those eyes that turned scarlet due to the murderous aura became Qian Rinxue's childhood nightmare. When she was 6 years old, Qian Rinxue was very naive and thought that her mother was troubled by something and she happened to disturb her, so her mother would be angry and hate herself so much. When she and her uncles went out to obtain the first and second soul rings, 6-year-old Qian Rinxue found a beautiful flower among the flowers on the roadside. Elder Ju said that it was a daisy. The flower language of daisies is strength and hope and happiness. So the 6-year-old Qian Rinxue picked the flower and returned to Wuhuan Hall to give it to her mother. But what she got in the end was her mother's cold eyes. Her mother crushed the daisies she gave her, leaving no warm smile for herself, only a cold-blooded attitude. From then on, Qian Rinxue hated flowers the most, because when she saw flowers, she would recall her mother's cold and resentful eyes. It was also after that Qian Rinxue completely broke with her mother, no longer calling her mother, and responded with the same indifference. After her father died, Qian Rinxue no longer expected any affection or a warm family. Apart from her grandfather, she no longer had enthusiasm or illusions about anyone. While lurking in the Tiando Palace, the intrigues of the officials made her understand emotions will only be a stumbling block to success. In her heart, only interests come first, and only those who utilize value are worthy of her ideals. Under the guidance of dark Qian Rinxue's beguiling voice, Qian Rinxue has been trapped in those dark and sad memories. Her consciousness has been counterattacked by evil thoughts. Her spirit has been polluted by darkness, and her whole person has become confused, finally passed out and fell to the ground. After regaining consciousness, Qian Rinxue no longer heard the bewitching voice deep in her heart. Opening her eyes slightly, Qian Rinxue felt a little uncomfortable with the dazzling sunlight. She felt as if she was sitting in a carriage. The vision gradually became clearer, and Qian Rinxue saw clearly that she was not in a carriage, but on someone else's back. The person carrying her away was Lu Bao. Qian Rinxue looked around in confusion. She found that the surroundings were very bright. She was walking on a spacious and clean official road with vast grasslands on both sides. She had now left the Death Valley and left the mountain forest full of darkness and evil. Trying to remember what happened in Death Canyon, Qian Rinxue finally remembered that she was meditating and resting in the forest full of darkness and evil atmosphere in Death Canyon. But unexpectedly, she was bewitched by the darkness in her heart. She recalled those things she didn't want to look into when she was a child. Past events. Later, his mental power was contaminated by the dark atmosphere of the mountain forest, causing him to lose consciousness and finally passed out. When he woke up, he was already sleeping on Lu Bao's back in a daze, and he didn't know how long he had been unconscious. Qian Rinxue wanted to jump off Lu Bao's back, but she was too tired. Her physical strength and soul power had not been fully recovered, and her spirit was a little dazed. She just wanted to lie motionless and let her exhausted body rest more. This experience is definitely an unforgettable memory for Qian Rinxue. First, she was tortured in actual combat with Lu Baoli. Then, under the influence of Lu Baoli's dark soul skills, his mood became depressed, and the darkness in his heart was channeled out. Then he was tricked and bewitched by his dark self, and was completely defeated by Lu Baoli's martial soul fusion technique. In the end, he was affected by the darkness and evil atmosphere in the mountains and forests, and his mental state suffered various tortures. No matter how strong her physical and mental strength is, no matter how tolerant her character is, Qian Rinxue will lose her vitality in this series of encounters. Now she just wants to take a good rest. Lu Bao walked straight along the official road, but still didn't encounter any carriage passing by, so he had to continue walking. Qian Rinxue's tired eyes looked at the scenery on the roadside. The green grass made her eyes comfortable, and the bright sunshine also made her feel warm. She vowed never to set foot in Death Canyon or those places full of darkness and evil again. Lying on Lu Bao's back to rest, Qian Rinxue recalled the past events of her childhood. This time, the memories did not make her feel sad, but instead made her extremely warm. Her parents didn't spend much time with her when she was a child. Her grandfather and the uncles who worshipped her always played with her, taught her various knowledge, guided her in cultivation, and taught her various practical essentials. Whenever she was tired from training and didn't want to move, Qian Rinxue's grandfather would always carry her home and play with her. Now, Qian Rinxue felt this kind of warmth again. What surprised her was that the person who gave her this feeling was not her grandfather or her relatives, but a dispensable outsider. Someone who was valuable to her would be valued. Outsiders who can be abandoned at any time if they have no use value. Looking back on the past year, Qian Rinxue's tired eyes brought a smile. She never trusted others and would not reveal her secrets to others. But she told Lu Baoli about her lurking plan. Now, she still wants to talk about something and have someone to talk to, because during the more than 10 years of lurking, she was too lonely and depressed for a long time. Will long to be understood. When I was a child, I often went on adventures in those mountains and forests with my grandfather. When he taught me the knowledge of spirit beasts, he didn't just follow the book step by step, but took me to various spirit beast forests to experience it myself. Every time I got tired from walking, my grandpa would carry me home like this. Then he would test me on various soul beast knowledge. When I couldn't answer the questions, my grandpa would scare me and say that he would not carry me home next time when I was tired and would leave me in the forest to feed me. Soul beast. Qian Rinxue spoke in a very low voice, so low that even Lu Baoli, who had his ear close to her mouth, could not hear what she was mumbling. The wind is strong. I can't hear what you said. Lu Baoli glanced at Qian Rinxue behind him. Qian Rinxue shook her head and was silent for a moment before replying. I said you really look like my grandfather. Really? Lu Bao said with a smile. Then you call me grandpa. Hearing these words, Qian Rinxue's good mood suddenly disappeared. She moved her eyes away from Lu Bao's face, turned her head, and continued to look at the scenery on the roadside. She didn't have the energy to argue with Lu Baoyang now, and she didn't think her words could outshine him. As early as when they met in the Star Forest, Lu Baoyang said that he wanted to be the Pope, and she could be the Pope's wife. Qian Rinxue knew my mouth couldn't fight him. Now, even my own strength cannot beat him. In the future, maybe it will be like what the array Douluo said. When he becomes a titled Douluo, if he can't defeat Lu Bao, then what can he do to suppress him? Qian Rinxue suddenly remembered and asked, "Don't you have green pills that can restore your physical condition?" "No more. They said they were bought from the auction house. How can I have so many on me?" Lu Haoli thought to himself. This pill was actually made by him using medicinal materials of the level of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. There are also other pills in the Ring Soul Guide. There are a ton of them, but he just wouldn't give it to Qian Rinxue. He also lied to Qian Rinxue that she had a hidden injury and was not suitable for walking around and needed someone to carry her. This is the benefit of understanding medicine. The patient must do what the doctor says even if he doesn't believe it. On the spacious official road, under the bright sunshine, the two shadows hugging each other gradually moved away, heading towards the nearest Wuhuan city. Chapter 113 Burning Ring, Soul Ring Mutation Skill Night, Forest. After a day's journey, Lu Baobao and Qian Rinxue were far away from Death Canyon and were on their way to the nearest city. It was already night, so the two had no choice but to settle in a small forest on the roadside, where they would spend the night. A bright bonfire was lit in a clearing near a stream. Several ghost soldiers were grilling meat in front of the campfire, while Qian Rinxue meditated to restore her physical condition. Lu Baoyang sat down 30 meters away from her and started the ring burning experiment. After these days of research, he has mastered the key to burning the ring, which is to purify the ultimate fire energy contained in the soul power, and then continuously inject it into the soul ring to ignite it. When the melting point of the soul ring reaches a certain height, the soul ring was burned. The light and heat energy generated after the soul ring is burned will be integrated into itself, greatly enhancing the overall strength. Every time a soul ring is burned, the physical attributes will be superimposed with the energy of the soul ring. The better the quality of the soul ring, the more energy will be generated by burning, and the greater the increase will be to oneself. Now, Lu Badai could burn the first soul ring and merge it with the energy generated by the soul ring. At level 56, after burning his first soul ring, he not only gained the power to easily defeat a soul emperor, but also mutated his soul skills. The first soul skill is shadow locking. Its original effect is to lock shadows within a certain range and communicate through the shadows. The first soul skill in the ring burning state will mutate into a soul skill with even better effects, which is the first soul ring's mutant skill film and television world. In the film and television industry, this skill is like gaining the Shadow Master's God's perspective. Not only can you see what the Shadow Master is doing, but you can also spy on the Shadow Master's psychological activities. Lu Badai can force this skill on opponents who are weaker than him. For example, as the Soul King, he can use the film and television realm against enemies below the Soul King level, or even against enemies at the Soul Emperor level, in order to share the enemy's psychology and perspective, and the enemy cannot easily detect it. This sharing is one way, and can only be shared by the caster to the recipient. If the strength of the recipient is much higher than that of the caster, this sharing will be forcibly lifted, and the recipient can instantly know the location of the caster. Therefore, if you want to use the film and television industry to obtain the enemy's God's perspective, you must first determine the strength gap between the enemy and ourselves. The first soul ring mutation skill in the film and television world may not seem to be of much use at first glance, but if used in conjunction with the Shadow Tomb field, it will produce a heaven-defying skill effect. When the Shadow Tomb field is enough to cover the whole world, the film and television industry will be equivalent to a super wide range of sensing skills that monitor the whole world, allowing Lu how to know the world's affairs and strategize without leaving home, and everyone's every move will be under his control among. Qian Rinxue, who was meditating beside her, opened her eyes. She felt that the temperature around her suddenly increased. When she took a closer look, she found that Lu Haoli, who was 30 meters away, had only 4 soul rings flickering. Didn't you absorb the 5th soul ring yesterday? Qian Rinxue took a closer look and discovered that the 4 soul rings on Lu Baoyang were yellow, purple, and black, and 1 yellow soul ring was missing. What was going on? Suddenly, The surrounding temperature dropped rapidly. Since the alternation of hot and cold only occurred in an instant, a large amount of water vapor was produced in the air, and the vision became blurred. When the hazy mist cleared, Qian Rinxue saw that the number of soul rings on Lu Baobao's body had returned to 5. But what confused her was that the configuration of the 5 soul rings was white, yellow, purple, and black. One of Lu Bao's yellow soul rings actually degraded into white. White means that the soul ring belongs to the lowest 10-year soul ring. And it also means that the power of the soul skill has dropped from a 100-year soul skill to a 10-year soul skill. Seeing this scene, Qian Rinxue was very confused and surprised. Lu Baolan was the only soul master she was sure had surrendered to her. Such a soul master with great use value suddenly had a 100-year soul ring that faded into 10 years. How could she not be surprised? Lu Baolan, what's going on with the soul ring on your body? Qian Rinxue asked curiously. Lu Baoli stood up and looked at the 5 soul rings spinning at his feet. The first soul ring changed from yellow to white. To be precise, it was from a 100-year soul ring with a validity of 500 years to a 10-year soul ring with a validity of only 1 year. The reason for this phenomenon is the ring burning research just now. Burning rings are the same as ring explosions. If a soul ring is destroyed, that soul ring will temporarily disappear from the soul master, and it will take a few days to recover before it can return to the soul master. Lu Baoyang just burned his first soul ring and gained a surge in power and the first soul ring's mutation skill, film and television realm. After the burning ring state is released, the disappeared first soul ring will return to him. But the life of the soul ring has been reduced to 1 year, becoming the lowest 10-year soul ring. And the effect of the soul skill will also become a 1-year soul skill. When the first soul ring absorbs enough light and heat energy, it will naturally return to its original appearance from the 10-year soul ring. In other words, ring burning, as a desperate skill, can give Lu Baobao a power far beyond his original strength, and can also allow him to obtain soul ring mutation skills. But the burning ring has side effects like the ring exploding. Until a solution is found to solve this side effect, the burning ring can only be used as a trump card. As a last resort, it is better to use the soul fusion skill of the Shadow Mask Bone to leapfrog the battle. In front of the campfire, the ghost soldiers had already grilled the meat and started to apply seasonings on the meat. At Douluo Star, he has done some research on food preparation and seasoning preparation, and Lu Baobao can also use this to develop various special seasonings such as barbecue meat skewers, chicken wings, and chicken. The seasonings on Douluo Star can not only diversify the taste of Douluo Continent's barbecue, but also remove the fishy smell from some meats and increase the taste and aroma of the food. What's more, this barbecue has the taste of Douluo Star. Unknowingly, having lived in Douluo Continent for 2.5 years, Lu Baolan no longer wanted to live in Douluo Star's home. He just wanted to become powerful quickly, so powerful that he could control everyone. The rich aroma of the grilled meat dipped in various seasonings makes your mouth water. After finishing practicing the ring-burning skill, Lu Baobao returned to sit by the campfire, cut out pieces of barbecue, skewered them, and handed them to Qian Rinxue. Seeing so much drug-like powder smeared on the barbecue, Qian Rinxue stared at Lu Batty with vigilant eyes. It's no wonder she was so vigilant. After all, this was a remote forest. When the man and woman were alone, she couldn't beat Lu Bao. If he took any more powder that made his body weak, he would be easily captured. Drugging people and then doing dirty things and cooking them into cooked rice is one of the compulsory methods used by mainland families to control a valuable person. You're not going to put medicine in the meat, are you? As soon as she asked this question, Qian Rinxue's stomach growled a few times, and then she remembered that Lu Bao had been carrying her on the road for a whole day, and the two of them haven't eaten anything. Can't your seraphim martial spirit be cultivated with the help of sunlight? Lu Bao said, if you are afraid that I will drug you, you don't have to take it. You can go to the roadside to bask in the sun early tomorrow morning to replenish your energy. Qian Rinxue frowned. I'm not a plant. Eat quickly. After recovering your physical strength and soul, we can fly on the road tomorrow. As he said this, Lu Baobao handed the kebabs to Qian Rinxue. Qian Rinxue took the skewers and fell silent as she looked at the various seasonings smeared on them. It was the first time she went out with outsiders. Of course, she had to be very cautious. This was for her own good and for Lu Buheo's sake. If anything happened to her unexpectedly, her grandfather will definitely kill someone. However, the grilled food has delicious meat and unique flavor. The aroma and color alone are enough to whet your appetite. Staring at this skewer of barbecue, Qian Rinxue reminded herself to be cautious while swallowing her saliva. After seeing Lu Baohao taking a skewer of the same barbecue and eating it, she took a tentative bite. The barbecue, seasoned with Douluo Star special seasoning, is very delicious and tender. The taste that she had never experienced before made Qian Rinxue's beautiful eyes tremble, as if she had encountered something novel. She was thinking that these meat skewers must have been filled with addictive drugs, so they felt so delicious. After accompanying you to Wuhan City, I want to go back to Tiando City first, and then come to Death Canyon, Lu Bao said suddenly. Didn't you already obtain the 5th soul ring? Qian Rinxue was puzzled. Why do you still want to go to Death Canyon? Chapter 114 Dark Blue Silvergrass. Because I found that the mountain forest where the Shadow Lord lives is very suitable for my cultivation. Lu Baoli said seriously. You will be affected by the darkness and evil atmosphere in that mountain forest, which proves that it is a natural mimicry training environment. I am in the effect of practicing there will definitely be better than in the light-filled room you built. How long will it take for you to practice in Death Canyon? Qian Rinxue asked. Lu Liang thought for a while and responded, about half a year. The Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite Competition will begin in less than a year. I will return to Tiando Royal Academy a few months in advance. Half a year. Qian Rinxue was silent for a while and said, You last left for a year, and now you have to leave for half a year. Yes. I am now at the 56th level of soul power. The training resources of the academy can no longer satisfy me. Of course, I have to find a better place to practice. Lu Bao said, I will be promoted to title Douluo as soon as possible. Isn't that a good thing? Qian Rinxue looked into Lu Baoyang's eyes seriously. But if you don't return to the academy for half a year, I won't be able to see you for half a year. Hearing this, Lu Haoli looked shocked and said, You only then did Qian Rinxue understand the ambiguity in her words. Xiaofei's cheeks were a little panicked as he explained, No, I didn't mean that. I meant that if you don't return to Tiando Academy for half a year, I won't be able to control your whereabouts. You have to know that you are now mine, and I have the right to know your whereabouts. Lu Bao smiled. Isn't Death Canyon from your spirit hall? If you want to know my whereabouts, you can send someone to keep an eye on me at any time, or you can come over to visit the class. Anyway, I will always stay in Death Canyon to practice. I have experienced so many things. You should also trust me more. Okay, Qian Rinxue said, It's up to you. I hope you can surprise me again in half a year. Lu Baohai sneered. Are you sure you're not scared? You said you wanted to verify my strength in person, but I beat you so badly. If you continue to neglect your cultivation like this, my soul power will be higher than yours in half a year. Why did you make an appointment to have a soul battle after you have the martial soul's true form at level 70? Don't expect me to have level 80 soul power by then, and you will only be at level 70. After you lost to me, it was because the level gap was too big. You, Qian Rinxue, said angrily. I have nothing to rely on. I already admitted that I lost. It was you who said that you had the advantage in the field, and I lost unjustly, so we agreed to fight again. Yes, it's me who is smart. I am noble. Lu Bao continued to season the barbecue on the campfire. Don't worry, I always have a way to quickly improve my strength. You can beat me now, but you will never be my opponent in the future. Qian Rinxue thought to herself, Vision determines realm. Her vision is far higher than that of Lu Baolon, because she knows that there is a divine inheritance on the mainland. After the latent plan is over, her grandfather will help start the Angel God test. Completing the test content can quickly improve your strength. After following her grandfather's instructions and inheriting the angelic throne, let alone Lu Bao, even that woman was just a mortal in her eyes. How could a mere mortal be the opponent of a god? That's right, Qian Rinxue suddenly said. If you want to enter Death Canyon to practice, I will ask Snake Spear Douluo to give you his Elder Order. Those who hold the Elder Order can enter and exit Death Canyon without restriction, and can ignore orders from the top of Wuhuan Palace. Greyfish Douluo has already rushed back to the spirit hall. I guess he won't listen to my instructions and has already informed the Pope of your 5th soul skill and soul bone skill. If the Pope knew about your talent, she will definitely send someone to take you to the Pope's palace and ask you to serve her. Lu Liliang was puzzled. Isn't the array Douluo one of yours? How could he disobey your instructions? The organization of the Wuhuan Palace is not as simple as you think. The 2 Douluos, Guillotine and Snake Spear, belong to the Elder's Palace. They are loyal to me and to the Pope. They will report the information they get without any leaks to the top leaders of the Papal Palace. This is their duty, and I have no right to blame them. I have personally verified it before, so I don't fully trust those 2 uncles. I still have to be on guard when it's time to be on guard. After listening to Qian Renshue's explanation, Lu Haoliang suddenly realized, then what should I do if the Pope sends someone to take me to Wuhuan Palace and asks me to serve her? Qian Renshue looked into Lu Bai's eyes and said very seriously, show me the elder order I gave you and ignore them. Reject them. Drive them away. Lu Baohao looked back at Qian Renshue's extremely determined eyes and asked tentatively, if I am willing to be taken away by them and work under the Pope, what will you do? I won't do anything. If you want to work for that woman, then go ahead. When she said this, Qian Renshue still looked indifferent, but there was something more in her eyes. Mixed emotions. It was not easy for her to find a talent who obeyed her, and she spent so much time cultivating him. How could she give up such a talent to someone she hated the most? In addition to being reluctant to part with the talent, Qian Renshue also had other emotions in her heart. She couldn't tell what they were. Even if she gave up to Oba Xiong, the grandson of the leader of the Holy Dragon sect, Luo Siki, the son of a high-ranking official in the Balik Kingdom, and the children of the palace ministers who had surrendered to her, Qian Renshue did not want to give up Lu Bao. Maybe it was because Lu Baoli's value was far higher than any other talent she had her eye on, or maybe it was because they had been working together recently and had experienced so many things, so their friendship was naturally deeper than the others. After thinking about it, Qian Renshue reminded, you don't need to go to the Pope's palace. I have personally verified that there are many young soul masters trained there, and the allocation of training resources is limited. Follow me. And not only can you stay in the Tiando Royal Palace, in college life, you can also enjoy the cultivation resources I give you exclusively. I can satisfy you whatever you want. Oh, Lu Hao asked, can you satisfy everything? I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Qian Renshue said bitterly, I know you have a bad mouth. How do you know I have a good mouth? Lu Baolon smiled. Have you personally verified it? After accompanying Qian Renshue back to Tiando City, Lu Baohai first went to the Ice and Fire Eyes and Sunset Forest and planted the dark blue silver grass in a place far away from other plants. The growth rate of the dark blue silver grass is 10 times that of the ordinary blue silver grass, and with the assistance of the Ice and Fire Eyes, I believe it should be able to grow to a 1,000-year cultivation level in half a year. Lu Baohao wanted to leave the inner elixir of the Ice and Fire Dragon King to the dark blue silver grass to be swallowed, and then let the dark blue silver grass swallow the 80,000-year-old blue silver king mentioned in the original work, as well as Ayin, who has the blood of the blue silver emperor. By then, the cultivation level of the dark blue silver grass will definitely reach more than 100,000 years, so that it can be absorbed as the 7th soul ring. It was said in the theory class of the Jilin Education Committee that the attributes of the soul ring produced by the soul beast are almost the same as the attributes the soul beast had during its lifetime. The dark blue silver grass has the devouring attribute of darkness, as well as the powerful vitality of the blue silver grass. Therefore, Lu Bao came up with a theory that absorbing the soul ring of the dark blue silver grass would most likely give the shadow soul a powerful vitality and devouring ability. Needless to say, there is no need to talk about the devouring ability. What kind of skill effects can be produced by the powerful vitality and shadow martial spirit? Now, there are tens of thousands of shadows of the dead sealed in the dark world in the Shadow Tomb realm. Among them are the shadows of the soul beasts that Lu Haoli killed personally, as well as the shadows of the dead stolen from the cemetery. They were killed in the life and death battle in the great soul fighting arena. The shadow of the soul master. If the shadow martial spirit has the ability to give these shadows of the dead a certain vitality, It can resurrect the shadows of the dead and summon them to fight. This theory needs to be verified in practice. So Lu Haoli had the idea of absorbing the dark blue silver grass soul ring for his 7th soul ring. Anyway, no matter what the soul ring is, the soul master's 7th soul skill is the true form of the martial soul. After handling various trivial matters at Tiando Royal Academy, Lu Haoli came to Death Canyon alone. Death Canyon entrance. After showing the Elder's order to the Spirit Master of Wuhuan Palace standing guard, Lu Haoli was granted free passage. Walking straight along the gloomy path at the entrance, he used his 2nd soul skill, Shadow Strike, to speed up his journey. Because after absorbing the Shadow Lord's soul ring, he had not yet sealed the shadow of the Shadow Lord's corpse in the Shadow Tomb realm and turned it into a Shadow General. If its body is used for study by the theoretical masters of Wuhuan Palace, the power of this soul beast will be lost. In the dark forest, the destination was finally reached. Seeing the Shadow Lord's body still lying in the semicircular stone formation, Lu Haoli secretly breathed a sigh of relief. When he came to the corpse of the Shadow Lord, he first used a dagger to dissect the corpse to see if there were any soul bones produced in the Shadow Lord. After all, the original book mentioned that there were cases where a soul beast produced 2 soul bones at the same time. After dissecting the body of the Shadow Lord, Lu Haoli did not find other bone-like objects containing soul power fluctuations, but he found a black bead. It was a bead the size of a glass bead, completely black, with a halo flowing on it, releasing an icy aura. Lu Haoli took out the black bead from the Shadow Lord's abdomen. The moment his fingers touched the black bead, the aura of darkness and evil instantly eroded his brain. This feeling was just like the evil thoughts he received when he killed the Shadow Lord. Like a backlash, the bones of the Shadow Mask were released, and black and gold lines appeared on his face, condensing into a black mask. All the darkness and evil aura that invaded Lu Haoli's brain were swallowed by the Shadow Mask, and his brain returned to calm. After shaking his head violently, Lu Haoli's thoughts came to his senses. His horrified eyes fell on the black bead in his hand. He thought to himself, this black bead contains an extremely huge aura of darkness and evil. Could it be the origin of the Shadow Lord? Condensed energy? Chapter 115 Claw Shadow Core. The so-called original energy, that is, the initial energy that gave birth to the soul beast, is the source of the soul beast power. As early as when Qian Rinxue sent Snake Spear Douluo's Elder Order, Lu Haoli also asked Snake Spear Douluo to bring a copy of an ancient book from the Spirit Hall. There are many strange and weird soul beasts recorded in it, including the Shadow Lord, Titan Giant Ape, Azure Bull Python, Deep Sea Demonic Whale King, and other super soul beasts with ancient bloodlines. In the transcript of this ancient book, there are also some related information about the dark demon evil god tiger. Lu Haoli vaguely remembered that in the original work, Yu Xiaojing knew about the existence of the dark demon evil god tiger and had read about such spirit beasts in an ancient book. Yu Xiaojing had previously had permission to view the books collected in the Wuhuan Palace Library. So he must have. It was only after reading this ancient book that I learned about so many powerful soul beasts that even titled Douluo had never seen before. According to ancient books, soul beasts with special bloodlines and cultivations of more than 50,000 years have the concept of original energy, which is the same as the concept of soul vibration in soul beasts that are 10,000 years old. When the soul beast's bloodline grows to a certain level, it will condense its original energy to form an energy body similar to a pill bead. For example, Douluo's Jade Phosphorus Snake Martial Soul evolved into the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor Martial Soul. Due to the promotion of his bloodline, he became the king of the group, so the original energy of this bloodline was generated and condensed into the inner elixir. The inner elixir of the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor's martial spirit contains half of Douluo's power. The black beads found in the Shadow Lord's body are also an inner elixir condensed from the original energy, containing half of the Shadow Lord's power. The black beads produced after the death of the original Dark Devil God Tiger are also inner elixirs condensed from the original energy. What surprised Lu Haoli was that the energy from the Shadow Lord's death had condensed into a 50,000-year-old soul ring and a 50,000-year-old external soul bone, and half of the original energy, was still hidden in this black bead. This is also the reason why soul beasts with special and powerful bloodlines can leapfrog and challenge 100,000-year soul beasts with 10,000-year cultivation. In the original work, after Douluo Bo forcibly fed the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor's inner elixir into Tang San's body, this Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor's inner elixir was helpful to Tang San's cultivation. In the same way, taking the Shadow Lord's inner elixir can also assist me. Cultivation, coupled with the darkness and evil atmosphere contained in the mountains and forests as a natural mimetic training environment, it is not difficult to reach level 60 soul power within half a year. While thinking about it, Lu Haoli had already released the Shadow Tomb domain, sealed the shadow of the Shadow Lord's corpse into the domain, and then bound its shadow with a tool to make it a Shadow General. This time, the instrument used to bind the Shadow Lord Shadow is not a mask or a ring, but the Shadow Mask Bone. As an externally attached soul bone, the Shadow Mask Bone can continue to evolve as Lu Haoli grows. If the Shadow Lord Shadow is bound to the Shadow Mask Bone, when the Shadow Mask Bone evolves in the future, the Shadow Lord Shadow, will they also grow together? After all, the Shadow Mask Bone originally came from the Shadow Lord, and this conjecture is reasonable. With the Shadow Tomb realm back in his body, Lu Haoli has sealed the shadow of the Shadow Lord's corpse and bound it to the Shadow Mask Bone. In the future, if you want to summon the Shadow Core based on the Shadow Lord, you only need to summon the Ghost Core without wearing any equipment. A breeze blew past the semicircular stone circle, and the body of the Shadow Lord lying in the center of the stone circle turned into black ash and drifted away with the wind. Its body disappeared from this world, but it was still alive, just in the state of the shadow of the dead, in the dark world of the Shadow Tomb realm. Walking into the stone formation, Lu Haoli found that there was a black hole the size of a fist on the floor that was closely connected to the Shadow Lord's lower body. It was a bottomless pit. It seemed that after another 10 or 100 years, there would be a brand new Shadow Lord in this bottomless pit. The bottom is conceived. This is the place with the strongest aura of darkness and evil. In this semicircular stone formation, practicing in the Shadow Lord's lair should have the best effect. While thinking about it, Lu Haoli sat cross-legged in the stone formation and swallowed the black beads produced by the Shadow Lord. After swallowing something dug out of a corpse, Lu Haoli couldn't help but feel a little nauseous, but the next moment, surging energy surged in his dantian. Not only did he not feel any discomfort, but the churning heat spread into his limbs, making him feel indescribably comfortable. Lu Haoli was running the ultimate ice and fire energy in his body, and while using the surrounding darkness and evil aura to assist in his cultivation, he was filtering the ultimate ice energy like a burning ring, and purifying the ultimate fire energy, and used it to refine the star that stayed in his dantian. The black orb of the Shadow Lord, just around Lu Haoli. In addition to the aura of darkness and evil, there are also two extreme auras of ice and fire. Lu Haoli releases hazy food like a small ice and fire two-dimensional eye, while the black beads of the Shadow Lord are like ups and downs. It was refined bit by bit in the small ice and fire eyes, making the darkness and evil aura contained in Lu Haoli's body become larger and larger, and the dark and evil attributes of the Shadow Martial Soul became purer. 10 days later, Death Canyon in the dark mountain forest. In the center of the semicircular stone formation, Lu Haoli was still sitting cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes and concentrating. While he was using the surrounding dark environment to assist his cultivation, he was also refining the black beads in his body. After 10 days of refining, the Shadow Lord's black bead has changed from the size of a green date to the shape of a grain of rice. In a short time, the energy produced by refining it will be completely absorbed. After a long time, a black aura of uneven hot and cold temperature erupted from Lu Haoli's body, forming a circle of ripples that spread in all directions. The soul power increases by 1 level. It is now level 57 soul power. At the same time, the Shadow Lord black bead in the body was completely refined, and the dark and evil energy contained in the black bead has been transformed into Lu Haoli's own energy. The dark and evil attributes of the Shadow Martial Soul become purer, and the dark energy contained in the soul power also becomes larger. The biggest change was not in Lu by himself, but in the fifth soul ring and the shadow mask bone, as well as the Shadow Lord shadow bound inside the Shadow Lord. The fifth soul ring was originally produced by the Shadow Lord. After converting the original energy contained in its black beads into its own energy, the fifth soul ring is equivalent to becoming a growth-type soul ring. That is to say, Lu Haoli's fifth soul ring is currently 50,000 years old. As the dark energy contained in his soul power increases, the fifth soul ring will grow from the original 50,000 years to 60,000 years, 7 years, 10,000 years, even 100,000 years, or the potential to grow into 1,000,000 years. Lu Haoli knew that what happened to him was actually similar to Tang San's fifth soul ring in the original work. Tang San's fifth spirit ring in the original book was derived from the 80,000-year-old Blue Silver King's sacrifice to awaken his bloodline. It is a growth-type spirit ring that allows Tang San's Blue Silver Grass to directly awaken into the Blue Silver Emperor and obtain the original spirit ring. In the future, the life of the soul ring will be increased as the Blue Silver Emperor grows. After absorbing the Shadow Lord's black bead, Lu Haoli's fifth spirit ring became the Shadow Lord's original spirit ring, so it could grow with the growth of the spirit master like Tang San's fifth spirit ring in the original work. In addition, the shadow mask with attached soul bone is also affected by the original energy of the black bead, and is upgraded from a 50,000-year soul bone to a 70,000-year-old soul bone. The Shadow Lord's shadow bound to the shadow mask bone also grows and becomes a 70,000-year cultivation level. Shadow. The strength of each member of the Shadow Core summoned based on the Shadow Lord is comparable to that of a soul beast that has been cultivated for 30,000 years. Unfortunately, with the current mental power and number of soul rings, only 5 Shadow Soldiers based on the Shadow Lord can be summoned at most. Lu Haoli stood up, calling out to the darkness in his heart and summoning the Shadow Core. This time, what he summoned was not a group of ghosts based on himself. It is the Claw Shadow group based on the Shadow Lord. 5 black shadows appeared on the ground in front of the semicircular stone formation, and 5 humanoid monsters 3 meters high crawled out of the 5 black shadows. It was a kind of humanoid monster with a dark body and a burly figure. Its hands were 2 huge claws, its feet evolved from the tail of a dragon, its head resembled a dragon's head, and its tiny eyes emitted a faint red light. It looked like it's like a human soul master possessed by a dragon martial soul. However, the 5 black dragon warriors who appeared in front of Lu Haoli were not soul masters, but Claw Shadow groups based on the Shadow Lord. In the Claw Shadow group, every Claw Shadow Soldier has inherited the dark and evil power of the Shadow Lord. Those huge claws are powerfully destructive and aggressive, and also have slowing and corrosive effects. Once hit by the claws of the Claw Shadow Soldier, whether it is a soul master or a soul beast, its defensive attributes will be continuously weakened by corrosion. In a sense, when the number of corrosion layers is superimposed to a certain level, the claws of the Claw Shadow Soldier can tear down all defenses. The enemy is attacked by the claws of the Claw Soldiers and is also affected by deceleration, resulting in sluggish body functions and reactions. Moreover, the Claw Shadow Soldiers are not as fragile as other Shadow Soldiers. They have extremely high defense and strength, as well as a certain degree of wisdom. Just like a 10,000-year soul beast, it has a thinking ability similar to humans. With the Claw Shadow group, Lu Haoli is equivalent to having 5 powerful partners. They may not necessarily be summoned to fight alongside Lu Haoli. With certain intelligence, they can become a powerful combat force to sneak attack the enemy's rear. It is to directly attack the enemy's key points, so as to get Lu Haoli, who is in crisis, out of danger. What's even more surprising is that as the Shadow Mask bone grows, the Shadow Lord's shadow bound in it will also become stronger. The summoned Claw Shadow Soldiers will not only have the strength of 30,000 years of cultivation, but also in the future, they have the potential to rival 100,000-year-old soul beasts. With a thought, the 5 clawed Shadow Soldiers standing in front of him turned into black energy and dissipated. He secretly activated his soul power, and a black aura that mixed the 4 attributes of ice, fire, darkness, and evil burst out from his body, violently. The soul power violently cracked the rock walls of the surrounding stone array and covered its surface with a layer of frost and lava. Among the 4 elemental attributes currently possessed, ice and fire are already extreme attributes. After absorbing the original black bead of the Shadow Lord, coupled with the transformation of the 5th soul ring, Lu Haoli's dark and evil attributes are also approaching the extreme attributes. Perhaps after the 6th soul ring absorbs the soul ring of the dark demon evil god tiger, it can evolve into extremely dark and extremely evil attributes. Practice, keep practicing. Lu Haoli thought to himself that after taking the fairy grass and elixir, he also had a natural mimetic training environment, martial soul fusion skills, and ring-burning techniques, and he had mastered all the methods that could improve combat effectiveness. In addition, the only way he can quickly improve his strength now is to cultivate his soul power. Hurry up and break through the level 60 bottleneck, and then figure out how to obtain the soul ring of the dark demon evil god tiger. At this moment, a loud noise suddenly exploded somewhere in Death Canyon, and the vibration of soul power spread to Lu Haoli's location. A battle broke out between the Soul Master and the Soul Beast. Lu Haoli's strange eyes lit up, and he used his clairvoyance ability to ignore any terrain obstruction, and his eyes fell 1,000 meters away, where a team of 2 men and 1 woman soul masters were fighting with a giant spider. Lu Haoli didn't recognize the 2 male and 1 female soul masters. He could only see a male soul master with red hair. The martial soul was a fire attribute martial soul with a tall figure. The martial spirit of another male spirit master is a crescent-shaped blade. The female soul master's martial soul is a kind of fox that exudes evil spirit and charm. This is Death Canyon, a place under the jurisdiction of Wuhuan Palace. The soul masters who can enter this place are basically soul masters from Wuhuan Palace. Lu Haoli thought that he didn't know the 2 male and 1 female soul masters, but the original work mentioned these 3 people. They should be the most outstanding young soul masters in Wuhuan Palace, and they are known as the Gold of Wuhuan Palace. Generation. The red-haired male soul master is named Yin. The other male soul master is their captain Xiaoyu, and the remaining female soul master is most likely Xiaoyu's sister Hulaina. Lu Haoli knew the spider soul beast that Hulaina and the 3 were fighting. It was a kind of existence that was far more evil and troublesome than the man-faced demon spider, the death demon spider. According to Qian Rinxue, the name Death Canyon has 2 meanings. One means that people who enter the canyon will almost die. One meaning is that there is a 100,000-year-old soul beast, the Death Spider King, living in the canyon, hence the name Death Canyon. In Death Canyon, the most common soul beast is not the blue silver grass, but the death demon spider. Even though the 100,000-year-old Death Spider Emperor was killed by the current pope a long time ago, his descendants are still protected by other tribesmen with strong cultivation levels. The strange pupil clearly saw that the death spider fighting Hulaina and the others, both in terms of its body shape and the soul power aura it released, were enough to prove that it had surpassed 40,000 years of cultivation. The 3 of Hulaina all had 5 soul rings flashing on their bodies. All 3 of them had the strength of the Soul King. If they worked together, they might be able to kill the Death Spider. However, the 3 of them seemed to be in poor condition before the battle, so they will fall into a disadvantage. Lu Haoli saw Hulaina and Xiaoyu standing together. The red light on their bodies flashed, and then the red mist grew. Outsiders could not see anything in the red mist. Fortunately, the strange pupils have the ability to see through, and their eyes can break through the red mist. Lu Haoli clearly saw that after Hulaina and Xiaoyu released the red mist, the 2 of them merged into one, turning into a person whose identity was indistinguishable. Warrior, martial soul fusion skills? Lu Haoli thought to himself that not long ago, he and Dark Qian Rinxue used martial soul fusion skills to transform into the form of the Dark Angel of Purgatory. Chapter 116 Martial Soul Fusion Skill. Shadow Demon Fox Hulaina and Xiaoyu, who were fighting in the distance, suddenly transformed into a new form after merging, and their strength increased greatly. Isn't this what martial soul fusion skills can do? Only then did Lu Haoli remember that the original work seemed to have mentioned that the brother and sister did have a powerful martial soul fusion skill. About 5 minutes later, the battle continued 1,000 meters away. Lu Haoli and Xiaoyu fought with their martial soul fusion skills, and with the cooperation of Yan's Flame Lord Martial Soul, they could have defeated the Death Spider. But it seemed that the martial soul fusion technique consumed too much soul power. They didn't last long before they were forced to cancel the fusion, and the large-scale red mist that blocked their vision also dissipated. The Death Demon Spider let out a roar, and the rolling sound wave rushed in all directions with the breath of death. After a flash of body, the Death Spider appeared beside Yin, raising its sharp spider legs high and about to stab him in the heart. Seeing this scene, Lu Haoli released the Shadow Mask Bone and Shadow Tomb Domain at the same time. The domain covered an area of 500 meters in radius. Black and golden textures appeared on his face and condensed into a black mask. With just one jump, Lu Haoli disappeared into the semicircular stone formation and was already stepping on a branch 500 meters away. Taking another step, taking advantage of the Shadow's ability to travel, Lu Haoli once again arrived at the branch 500 meters away. 5 soul rings lit up, and Lu Haoli used Shadow Swap to move Yin, who was about to be stabbed to death by the spider's legs, to a safe area. At the same time, the first soul skill Shadow Lock and the 5th soul skill Shadow Contract acted on Lu Haoli. Consuming 1/3 of one's own soul power, the first stage of the control effect of the 5th soul skill Shadow Contract is activated. Lu Haoli's heart trembled, and a jujube-sized word Shadow was engraved in the middle of her forehead. The darkness and evil thoughts deep in her heart instantly backfired on her body, turning her into an unconscious body of evil thoughts. His hair turned white, his eyes turned scarlet, and his clothes were covered in black. After being controlled by the Shadow Contract, the darkened Lu Haoli received Lu Bai's order, jumped up, and merged with Lu Bai's body in the air. The Shadow Mask Bone came with the skill Evil Thought Fusion. Martial Spirit Fusion skill Shadow Demon Fox. Launch! The two people who collided in midair were enveloped in dazzling black light, and the surging dark aura shrouded Xiaoyu and the Death Spider, who thrust into the air with its spider legs. A roar rang out, and a black storm swept over. When the dazzling black light in midair faded, the figures that appeared in the air were no longer Lu Haoli and the darkened Lu Haoli, but a fierce-looking and domineering creature whose entire body was black and whose size was over the 8-meter Shadow Fox. Bang! The Shadow Demon Fox landed in response and once again let out a shocking roar. An aura of charm, evil, and darkness instantly turned into endless black mist covering hundreds of meters in radius. Trapped in the black mist, neither the Death Spider nor Xiaoyu could see anything. Only Yin, who was moved to a safe area by Lu Haoli, saw that Lu Haoli seemed to have performed a soul fusion skill with a strange soul master. The black mist that enveloped the Death Spider and Xiaoyu was similar to the red mist released by Lu Haoli and Xiaoyu during their martial soul fusion skills. What is this if not a martial soul fusion skill? Neither Xiaoyu nor Yin could see what was happening in the black mist, not even the 4 death demon spiders. But the two could hear screams coming from the black mist from time to time, which was an extremely sad and harsh insect sound. Xiaoyu and Yin couldn't see the battle in the black mist, but they knew from the sound that the screams were from the Death Spider. Suddenly, countless spider legs flew out from the black mist. When the black mist dissipated, what was revealed in front of Xiaoyu and Yin was a giant black fox stepping on the back of a Death Spider that was covered in blood and flesh. The body of the Death Spider was completely broken, and its 8 spider legs were peeled off from the body. The scarlet spider eyes were trembling, and the broken body was also trembling. It seemed to be extremely frightened. It was so abused by the human soul master that it wanted to explode. But there is black energy emanating from the body of the Death Demon Spider. The black energy seems to have paralyzed its nerves, frozen its body, and made it unable to move. The thought of self-destruction has become a luxury. Finally, The shadow demon fox raised its black claws and smacked the death spider on the head. The black claw instantly crushed the death spider's head with a violent sound of breaking through the air, and blood spattered everywhere. This death spider died, tragically due to ruthless abuse. After letting out a roar, the shadow demon fox turned into black light and dissipated, turning back into the figures of Lu Bai and Hulaina. The word shadow on Hulaina's forehead disappeared. The shadow contract on her body was lifted. Her white hair and black clothes returned to their original color, and she lay unconscious on the ground. Lu Baoli stood quietly. With the clairvoyance ability of his strange eyes, he saw that the head was crushed and the body of the death spider was in tatters. There was light flashing in the body. It was not a soul ring, but a piece of soul energy. Bone-like object. With the experience of breaking out the shadow mass bone last time, Lu Baobao knew that this bone-like object that released light was a soul bone. Neither Xiaoyu nor Yin seemed to notice the soul bone that exploded from the death spider's body. Lu Baoli thought that after sending them away, this death spider soul bone that was over 40,000 years old would be his. Who are you? Xiaoyu picked up Hulaina, who was lying on the ground. In a flash, she opened a distance of 10 meters from Lu Baobao, and her very vigilant eyes explored Lu Baobao's body. He was not wearing the clothes of Wuhuan Palace, nor was he wearing the badge of the sole master of Wuhuan Palace on his clothes. Xiaoyu thought to herself that the black-haired young man who reached out to help was probably not the spirit master of the spirit hall who stayed in the canyon to guard the place. Then why did he appear in Death Canyon? Could it be that a certain noble got a license from Wuhuan Palace and came in to hunt the soul beasts? The shadow mask bones disappeared from his face. Lu Baobao took out the elder order given to him by Qian Rinxue, handed it to Xiaoyu, and said truthfully, "I came to Death Canyon to practice." Elder's order? Looking at the token presented by the black-haired young man, Xiaoyu's eyes showed a series of changes. First doubtful, then shocked, then questioning, and finally turned back to vigilance and asked, "Which elder of Wuhuan Palace are you a disciple of?" "I can't tell you this. The person who gave me the elder's order told me that whenever I encounter a soul master from the spirit hall, I only need to show the elder's order without explaining too much." Just as Lu Baoyang finished speaking, a figure came from nowhere, and a woman's voice sounded. "I know all the elders in the elders' hall. I can tell which elder gave you the warrant at a glance." The voice came from far away. When Lu Baoi looked at the owner of the voice, only a phantom flashed in front of his eyes. The next moment, the elder order in his hand had disappeared. His eyes fell on Xiaoyu's side, and Lu Haoliang saw clearly that the person coming was a woman. Judging from the soul power aura she had just revealed, this person's strength was at least that of a Contra, or maybe she and snake like a spear dolphin. He is a titled Douluo, Elder Ling Yuan. Xiaoyu hugged the unconscious Hulaina and saluted respectfully to the female soul master who appeared next to her. The woman named Elder Ling Yuan glanced at Xiaoyu and noticed the embarrassed appearance of him and Hulaina. She couldn't help but shook her head in disappointment. "It seems that it is a bit reluctant for the three of you to fight with a death spider with 40,000 years of cultivation. However, this is the Valley of Death, and only when one is on the verge of death can a person's potential be stimulated. Xiaoyu, you did not meet the requirements in this experience. I will truthfully report the situation to the Pope." Having said this, Ling Yuan Dao looked at Lu Baoli and threw the elder's order back to him. Lu Bao took the elder's order, took back the ring soul guide, and showed respect to Ling Yuan Dao. "Your elder's order belongs to Elder Snake Spear, right?" Ling Yuan Dao asked. "I didn't hear when that old guy accepted a disciple. You can kill Xiaoyu, but the three of them can't defeat you together." Death Demon Spider, this proves that you are very powerful. If Elder Snake Spear has an apprentice like you, how could the Elder Hall not know about it? How could the Pope not have information about you? Chapter 117, The Golden Generation of Wuhuan Palace. I'm sorry. I can't say. Even when faced with the title Douluo's questioning, Lu Baoli still gave the same answer. Ling Yuan Douluo is also an elder of Wuhuan Palace, so she knows that if a person holding an elder order refuses to answer a question, it means that he really cannot answer it, unless this person obtained the elder's order through some improper means. Elder Ling Yuan. Yin ran to Xiayu's side, saluted Ling Yuan Douluo, and blamed himself. This experience is my fault. After Nana and Xiayu used their martial soul fusion skills, I should have they formed a cooperation, but they lost their focus and were targeted by the Death Spider first. This led to the failure. Next time you come to Death Canyon to experience, you should let the ghost elders accompany you. A cold look flashed in Elder Ling Yuan's eyes. You have disappointed me. It seems that those elders praise you too highly. I feel sorry for you. How high our expectations are. How disappointed I am with your embarrassed appearance. Hearing this rebuke, Xiayu and Yin did not dare to speak anymore. Lu Baoba understood their conversation. It turned out that the battle between Xiayu and the Death Spider just now was to fulfill the training requirements of Ling Yu Douluo. Even if he did not save Yin, Ling Yu Douluo was hiding in the dark. We'll also take action in time. After experiencing being infinitely close to death, it is no wonder that the soul masters who came out of the Wuhuan Palace are far more powerful than other soul masters and have higher fighting qualities. Seeing Xiayu and Yan's expressions of willingness to be punished, Ling Yuan Douluo lamented, "That's all. Just take a rest tonight. The three of you can't defeat the Death Spider together. Maybe you were exhausted before. A lot of soul power. In the past few days, the three of you will have a good rest in the canyon, and I will let the guards on duty protect your safety. When you recover to full strength, I will provoke a Death Spider for you. If the three of you are still in such a mess, I will be really disappointed in you." Having said this, Ling Yuan Douluo looked at Lu Baolei again and said harshly, "Look at that kid. With the same strength as the Soul King. Why can he easily kill the Death Spider, but you can't?" Xiayu and Yan's eyes fell on Lu Baolei. After a moment of silence, the two of them showed no intention of being dissatisfied and said in unison, "Next time we will complete the training requirements. I hope you are not just bad-mouthed. Remember, face the experience as a real life and death battle. Don't be lucky and think that I will save you. This kind of experience has no meaning at all in Death Canyon." Ling Yuan Douluo looked serious. Said, "Only by being infinitely close to death can you hone the courage and strength to fight against death." "Yes." After Xiayu and Yin responded, Ling Yu Douluo's figure instantly turned into flying sparks, and his whole person disappeared from the spot, and even his breath disappeared within the range that could be detected by his mental power. Seeing Ling Yuan Douluo's figure disappear without a trace, Xiayu and Yan's tense bodies suddenly relaxed. They looked at each other and saw the fatigue and smile on each other's faces. Every time they go to Death Canyon for training, they are dealing with the god of death. So the relationship between the two of them is cultivated in death. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are friends of life and death. Because the experience just now was a success, Xiayu and Yin looked at each other and smiled. "What's your name?" Yin looked at Lu Baolei and said, "You can tell us this, right?" Lu Bao. A few very simple words, but both Xiayu and Yin were stunned for a moment. They felt that the name was familiar. They seemed to have heard it mentioned by someone in Wuhuan Hall, but they couldn't remember it for a moment. "Friend, actually you don't need to save me," Yin said, "because I understand that even if the Death Spider's spider legs are about to pierce my body, I will not really be killed." "Then you look like you were scared to death?" Lu Hao asked. Yin was speechless for a moment, and then responded after a pause. "Nonsense, I don't show fear when facing death. Do you want me to face it with a smile?" "Yin, no matter what, he saved you." Xiayu on the side reminded, "You should say thank you for both emotions and reasons." Yin looked at Lu Baolei, considered it for a moment, and then said with a smile, "Thank you, my friend. Tell me, I can give you whatever you want. Consider it a thank you gift. Then can you give me the body of this Death Spider?" Lu Baohao looked at the broken Death Spider on the ground and thought, if he doesn't take off its body, the soul bones in the body will appear on his own initiative. Yin glanced at the corpse of the Death Demon Spider and said cheerfully, "It's just a soul beast corpse. I don't need its soul ring. If you want it, just take it. You killed it anyway." "Okay." After answering, Lu Baohai temporarily put the Death Spider's body into the ring soul guide. After finishing the process, Lu Baolei asked curiously, "During this period, have you also been practicing in Death Canyon?" "Yes, we have to stay in this ghost place for half a year." Yin sighed. "Oh, even if there are strong people secretly protecting our safety, They will only take action when they have to. During this period, we still have to those who have experienced life and death and stay in this state for a long time will sooner or later become frightened and fall ill. Lu Liang was puzzled. You didn't come here to practice voluntarily? Are you doing this voluntarily? Yin asked. Lu Bao nodded. It seems that you are very confident in your own strength, Yin said with a wry smile. We were sent to Death Canyon for training because we did not complete the training requirements of the Great Soul Fighting Arena and angered the Pope. The environment in the canyon, the terrain is harsh and dangerous, and the soul beasts that inhabit it are all full of aggression. How can any soul master willingly stay in such a ghost place? You haven't completed the training requirements of the Great Soul Fighting Arena? No matter what the training content is, it shouldn't be difficult for geniuses like you, right? Lu Haoli thought, before he left under the guise of going to the Great Soul Fighting Arena in other cities to gain experience. Although the purpose of Tiando Royal Academy was to do business with the Pa clan, he also stayed in the Great Soul Fighting Arenas in Star Luo City, Longxing City, Gingxin City, Silva City, and other cities, and brought the highest winning streak record in the city's Grand Spirit Arena, all reached 40 consecutive wins. But he was the only one who had never been to the Grand Spirit Arena in Wuhuan City. Even the strength of the golden generation of Wuhuan Palace has not been able to complete the training requirements in the Great Soul Fighting Arena. Is it possible that the average level of the Soul Masters in the Great Soul Fighting Arena of Wuhuan City is so high? Our Grand Soul Fighting Arena training is not as simple as you think, Yin Jingsa said. The training requirement given to us by the Pope is to conquer the Grand Soul Fighting Arena in all cities, so that the reputation of the Soul Master of Wuhuan Palace can be heard throughout the continent. For this reason, after finishing the experience of the Spirit Fighting Arena in Wuhuan City, the guy named Xie Yu and the unconscious sister in his arms left Wuhuan City together and went to other cities to fight souls. We went on the field to practice, and guess what happened to us? What happened? Lu Bao asked. I met a soul master who claimed to be Jie. Almost every big soul fighting arena in the city has records of his soul fighting. There was a trace of resentment on Yan's face, and he said, that bastard named Jie has set the highest winning streak record in every big spirit fighting arena to over 40. The three of us have always wanted to break his winning streak, but unfortunately, it was ended after about 20 consecutive wins. Unable to break Zed's winning streak means that our experience in the Great Soul Fighting Arena failed. So the Pope, I got so angry that I asked Elder Ling Yuan, who had just returned from a mission, to send the three of us to Death Canyon. He said that we would stay in Death Canyon for the first half of the year and then go back to prepare for the competition before the finals of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite Tournament. You should know, right? Well, Hunnian Academy is recommended to the finals. Xiaoyu, myself, and Xiaoyu's sister are all contestants. After hearing this explanation, Lu Bao felt a little guilty because the Soul Master who claimed to be Jie was his active name in the Great Soul Fighting Arena. How could he have imagined that the three Golden Generation members of Wuhuan Palace were sent to Death Canyon to practice because of him? Since you still have unfinished experience content, I won't disturb you. I'll say goodbye first. After saying that, Lu Bao turned around and left, but was unexpectedly stopped by Xiaoyu beside him. Wait a minute. I have a question. Ask you. What soul skill did you use just now to kill the Death Demon Spider? Xiaoyu looked at Hulaina, who was unconscious in her arms, and asked, I remember that my sister was affected by your soul skill at that time. It seems that I used a martial soul fusion skill with you. What exactly is going on? Hearing this, Yin also remembered this incident. When he was watching the battle in the safe area, he clearly saw Hulaina and this guy named Lu Bao using their martial soul fusion skills. Yan's expression darkened, and he asked, Do you know Nana? I don't know, Lu Bao said truthfully. My soul skills can attack at the same time as others, producing an effect similar to martial soul fusion skills. What did you say? Xiaoyu and Yin exclaimed almost at the same time. Chapter 1:18 The Rise of Tang, how Yin said with a look of disbelief. Martial soul fusion skills cannot be activated casually. Xiaoyu and her sister have been dependent on each other since they were young, and they have a deep relationship. The quality of their martial souls is also very similar, so they can use martial soul fusion skills. How can we do this if we are not related to Nana? I can't tell you this. Lu Bao took out the Elder's Order and handed it to Yin and said, "The person who gave me the Elder's Order told me that any soul master who encounters the Spirit Hall only needs to show the Elder's Order. No need to explain too much." Okay, I won't ask. Yin changed the topic and said, "Then what is your martial spirit? Is it a kind of fox like Nana?" I can't tell you this. Lu Baolon handed the Elder's Order to Yin again and said, "The person who gave me the Elder's Order told me that whenever I encounter a soul master from the Spirit Hall, I only need to show the Elder's Order. But no need to explain too much," Yin Jingsa said. "Then which area of Death Canyon do you practice in?" I can't tell you this. After saying that, Lu Baolon handed the Elder's Order to Yin. Before he could speak, Yin immediately reached out and interrupted. "Okay, stop talking. I don't want to hear the same thing again. Answer." After sighing, Yin glanced at Xiaoyu helplessly, and Xiaoyu shook her head helplessly. After thinking for a moment, the two stopped asking, said goodbye to Lu Hao, hugged Hulaina, and left, returning to their area to rest. Back in the dark mountain forest, after the ghost soldiers lurking in the dark realized that they were not following, Lu Baohai took out the body of the death spider and cut open its abdomen with a dagger. A bone-like object emitting purple light emerged from the death spider. The spider's belly slowly floats to the sky. It was a piece of armor that looked like it was made from the shell on the back of the death spider. Judging from the shape, it should be a 40,000-year-old arm bone. Grasping this soul bone, a hot flow full of vicious energy appeared in Lu Baoli's right hand. It is said that which part of the body the breath of the soul bone flows towards will prove which part of the soul bone it is. So this arm bone is the right arm bone of the death spider. The attached skill is most likely its blade-like spider leg attack, also known as the death scythe. Lu Baoyang currently only has one attached soul bone and no right arm bone, but he does not plan to absorb it. Even if he doesn't absorb something as precious as a soul bone, it's okay to keep it. Lu Bao put the death spider's right arm bone into the ring soul guide, and then released the shadow tomb field to seal the shadow of the death spider's corpse in it. Take out a silver ring to bind the shadow of the death spider. The death spider has an innate skill called the death scythe. After 40,000 years of cultivation, it has evolved into a skill that spits out spider silk and sucks blood. The shadow core summoned by the death spider as the shadow general will inherit these abilities and become the powerful sickle shadow core. Each of the shadow soldiers in the shadow core is a spider monster in human form. Perhaps the soul beasts that have been around for more than 10,000 years have the ability to think as well as humans, so the black shadow core created will be in the form of human monsters. Appear. Their pair of black sides can not only release chopping attacks, but their mouths can also spray tough spider silk. Both the magic scythe and the spider silk carry a strong aura of death and can absorb the opponent's vitality and blood. Binding ends. The silver ring turned into a purple ring with a spider pattern on it, called the death ring. Put the death ring on your left ring finger. As a result, Lu Baoli already wore 4 rings on his left hand, namely the soul-eating ring on the thumb, the soul-guiding ring on the index finger, the pink ring on the middle finger, and the death ring on the ring finger. The Shadow Tomb realm can seal the shadows of the dead in unlimited areas, but the number of shadows of the dead that can be bound is limited. 5 soul rings mean that only 5 shadows of the dead can be bound. The Scorpion Shadow Group is based on the King of Earth, a Poisonous Shadow Group based on the Pink Lady. The Shadow Eating Group is based on the Soul-Eating Demon Spider. The Claw Shadow Group is based on the Shadow Lord. A Sickle Shadow Group based on the Death Spider. There is also a Ghost Group based on himself. So far, Lu Hao has created 6 major black shadow groups. Among them, the most potential is the Shadow Devouring Group, which can become huge. The strongest is the Claw Shadow Group, followed by the Sickle Shadow Group, and the Poison Shadow Group, and Scorpion Shadow Group. The group is a black shadow general with 1,000-year soul beasts. It seems that during the period of training in Death Canyon, it is time to replace the Poison Shadow Group and the Scorpion Shadow Group, and find 2 soul beasts with a cultivation level of more than 10,000 years to serve as the Black Shadow Generals. With these Black Shadow Corps, there is no need to worry about facing threats from a small sect or certain families in the future. If they dare to provoke themselves, they will summon 6 shadow soldiers at the same time, and lead the Shadow Soldiers to launch an offensive comparable to a beast tide to destroy them. Thinking of this, Lu Baobao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He had Qian Rinxue as his backer and Douluo as his thug. Who else could pose a threat to him now? Only with various guarantees can we truly thrive. Lu Haoli thought that if he grew up under such conditions, when he had enough strength, he could try to find a successor to the divine throne. After all, the further you go, the harder it becomes to cultivate soul power. If you want to reach the realm of titled Douluo in a short time, unless you find a way to quickly improve your soul power, you can only rely on the assessment rewards of divine inheritance to quickly grow up. If there is no divine throne inheritance, then create your own divine throne. Lu Haoli remembered that the original book said that creating your own godhood requires the power of faith, and he gained a lot of reputation in every big spirit fighting arena with the name of Jie. If he shows overwhelming strength in the Continental Senior Soul Master Elite Tournament half a year later, he should be able to gain the faith of a wave of mainland soul masters. If he becomes a god through faith, what kind of god will he become? Lu Haoli thought that maybe he could become the god in charge of shadows by relying on the faith of all shadows. Or maybe if you encounter other opportunities in the future, you can create a new god that breaks away from the rules of the Douluo God Realm, a kind of supreme god who controls all dark side worlds. There are too many roads to take in the future. Lu Haoli put aside all illusions about the future and returned to the semicircular stone formation to sit down and meditate, using the surrounding darkness and evil aura to assist his cultivation. Now he only has to do one thing, and that is to break through the level 60 bottleneck as soon as possible during the 6 months of training in Death Canyon, and then find a way to hunt down the dark demon evil god tiger. Stardew Forest, deep inside, a huge clear sky hammer fell from the sky, and the surging energy caused the surrounding plants to shake, and the earth shook. Bang! The huge clear sky hammer fell in response, directly crushing a 70,000-year-old giant bear soul beast into blood and flesh. The giant bear soul beast, whose legs and hands had been chopped off and whose body was covered in bear armor with bloody flesh, was already defenseless and on the verge of death, and could be killed with just a knife on it. But this powerful clear sky hammer soul master used the most brutal method to kill the giant bear soul beast, which was enough to show that his purpose was to kill him violently. Not only that, in order to make this giant bear soul beast hate him to the core, the clear sky hammer soul master also drove out all the descendants of the giant bear soul beast. Now, not only the giant bear soul beast died, but its 3 generations of descendants were also tortured to death. Walking to the side of the giant bear soul beast that had turned into blood and flesh, the clear sky hammer soul master took back his martial spirit and saw a bone-like object flashing in the blur of flesh and blood. His gloomy face suddenly relaxed. In front of the bear soul beast, he drove out all 3 generations of its descendants, making it hate him extremely, and then tortured it to death, finally exploding a soul bone. The clear sky hammer soul master picked up the soul bone and the flesh. When he saw that the soul bone was in the shape of a left arm bone, his face showed a smile. In the Stardew Forest, he slaughtered nearly 30 people who had cultivated for more than 50,000 years. The powerful soul beast has finally found a left arm bone that suits him. After wiping away the blood stains on the soul bones, the clear sky hammer soul master immediately found a place to absorb the soul bones and replenish the parts of his body without soul bones as quickly as possible to restore his strength to its peak state. Sitting cross-legged, the clear sky hammer soul master circulated his soul power. The giant bear's left arm bone sensed the call of soul power and absorbed on the clear sky hammer soul master's left arm, and then slowly integrated into his body. It has been 3 months since my left arm was picked off and my right leg was melted. I have endured the pain of a broken arm for 3 full months. The original 95 level soul power has lost its right leg bone and left arm bone. Due to the reasons, the soul power dropped to level 75. This clear sky hammer soul master is none other than the world-famous clear sky Douluo Tang Hao. 3 months ago, in the battle between Tang Hao and Douluo, he originally had the advantage. Douluo was already his dead soul, but unexpectedly, an invisible Soul King released some kind of domain skills and rescued Douluo. I wanted to kill the Soul King first, but I was defeated by a general and was plotted against him. Not to mention being poisoned by Douluo's snake venom. My hidden wounds recurred. I was successively infected by various poisons, and the explosive ring was also harmful to my body. As a side effect, the Soul King actually broke off his left arm while he was still alive. The left arm bone was peeled off from the body along with the left arm. Tang Hao's cultivation dropped by 10 levels. His right leg was corrupted by Douluo's snake venom. The right leg bone was also peeled off from the body, and his soul power dropped by another 10 levels. Fortunately, under the attack of the great Sumeru hammer with all its strength, the enemy must be rescued. Taking advantage of the cover of the great Sumeru hammer's destructive energy, he rescued his son Tang San in time and escaped from danger. However, even if he saved his life, the pain of various new injuries and old diseases on his body made Tang Hao worse than death. He was riddled with diseases, and every day was like a year, and he was weeping, unable to bear the pain. And his son Tang San had no one to protect him. Tang Hao had no choice but to absorb a piece of the Blue Silver Emperor's right leg bone left by his wife. With the help of the recovery ability of the Blue Silver Emperor's right leg bone, after 2 months of treatment, Tang Hao's broken limb grew back. His broken left arm and right leg returned to their original shape, and all kinds of hidden injuries were completely cured. After asking a poison expert to remove all kinds of poisons from his body, Tang Hao's whole person took on a new look. Although the loss of his left arm bone and right leg bone caused his soul power to drop to level 75, the broken limbs recovered and his body no longer suffered from any pain, which allowed Tang Hao to cheer up again. After absorbing the 100,000-year-old Blue Silver Emperor's right leg bone, Tang Hao not only gained the ability to self-heal and regenerate his broken arm, but also replenished the lost right leg bone, restoring his soul power to level 10. Becoming level 85. Soul power. Now, after absorbing the 70,000-year-old left arm bone produced by the giant bear soul beast, the soul power has returned to level 10, returning to the peak of level 95. The left arm bone was completely integrated with the body. Tang Hao opened his eyes with tears shining in his eyes. With the help of the Blue Silver Emperor's right leg bone, his strength and physical condition were restored. Now he not only has the soul ring of his wife, Ayin, but also the soul bone, which makes Tang Hao feel that his wife is by his side all the time. Even a tough man like him who bleeds and does not shed tears finally couldn't help but shed tears. Ayin, I swear from today on, no one would have hurt our son. Tang Hao stood up, his eyes no longer flashed with tears, but filled with murderous intent. His strength had returned to its peak. The first thing he had to do was seek revenge on Douluo Chapter 119 Tang Hao's training plan for Tang San Douluo continent. There is a cave like a secret chamber behind a certain waterfall. On weekdays, there is only one blue silver grass in the cave. A few months ago, a young man wearing blue clothes appeared in this cave. He looked to be only 13 or 14 years old. This man was Tang San, who was kidnapped by Douluo for exposing his possessed soul bone. At this moment, Tang San was sitting near the blue silver grass, closing his eyes and meditating. He thought he would die in the hands of Douluo, but Tang San didn't expect that the person who would take action against him was not Shrek's teacher, but his father Tang Hao. The #1 sect in the world, Douluo Hammer. After being rescued by his father, Tang San learned about these 3 concepts. It turned out that his father was not a blacksmith who drank all day long and got drunk, but the Douluo who was famous in the mainland. It turns out that he and his father are not just villagers who temporarily live in the Holy Soul Village, but are children of the Haotian sect, the largest sect in the world. His second martial spirit is actually a top weapon martial spirit comparable to the blue electric Tyrannosaurus, the Haotian hammer. After learning about his life experience, Tang San wanted to know who his mother was, but Tang Hao always avoided answering with the excuse of "I'll tell you everything later." Although he didn't know the news related to his mother, Tang San was still able to analyze some clues from the known information. The martial spirit is inherited from the parents. The clear sky hammer martial spirit is inherited from the father, and the blue silver grass martial spirit is inherited from the mother. In other words, it is very likely that his mother is a blue silvergrass soul master like him. Perhaps his mother is mediocre in terms of soul master talent, while his father is a world-famous titled Douluo. The so-called mismatch family is wrong, so his father and the mother did not live together. After finishing his meditation, Tang Sen opened his eyes, and what he saw was a blue silver grass. Every time he saw this blue silver grass that seemed to have mutated, Tang Sen would always feel a warm feeling. He looked at its leaves swaying in the wind, as if it wanted to express something, but couldn't understand its meaning. Tang Sen gently teased the leaves of the blue silver grass with his fingers, thinking to himself, blue silver grass is really everywhere. Even in the cave hidden behind the waterfall, there is blue silver grass growing there. When I prepared an antidote for my father in the cave, the irritating gas produced by the antidote almost poisoned the blue silver grass. Fortunately, the blue silver grass has a strong vitality, and he was very careful when refining the poison and antidote so that this blue silver grass could be protected from the disaster upon fish. To Tang San's surprise, every time his father Tang Hao returned to the cave, he would sit next to this blue silver grass and carefully protect it. One night, Tang San also discovered that his father was obsessed with this blue silver grass. The grass talks to itself and does strange things. Therefore, this blue silver grass should be very important to his father. Otherwise, Tang San would have already used it for research on this seemingly mutated blue silver grass. After all, the master taught him that mutation is not only found in martial souls, but also in soul beasts. At this moment, a figure crossed the waterfall and entered the cave. Seeing that the person walking in from the cave entrance was his father, Tang San stood up happily and walked towards his father. "Dad, where have you been these days?" Before Tang San could finish speaking, Tang Hao suddenly felt a blockage in his chest, and his whole body became stiff, followed by unbearable itching on his neck and chest and ribs. Seeing his father covering his chest with his left hand and scratching his neck with his right hand, Tang San's expression suddenly changed, and he hurried to his father's side, took out an antidote from his belt, and handed it to his father. Tang Hao took the antidote from Tang San, and after taking it, he used his soul power to speed up the absorption of the medicine. About a minute later, the numbness, itching, stiffness, and tingling all over Tang Hao's body all disappeared, and he returned to normal, as if some kind of toxin had been released. "Dad, all the toxins in your body have not been cleaned out yet. With the strength of your soul power, it is not a problem to suppress the backlash of the toxins. But today you are poisoned again." Tang San asked with concern, "Are you looking for Douluo?" Tang Hao stood up and shook his head. When facing his son, he always put on a serious look. "Xiao San, it's useless. Douluo is no longer what he used to be. His Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor spirit has evolved, and the snake venom has become extremely domineering. It's okay if the snake venom is not allowed to enter the body. But that battle was my little one's." I looked at him. Not only did his snake venom soak into my body, but I also let the snake venom infect the already damaged internal organs. As he spoke, Tang Hao walked to sit down next to the blue silver grass and continued, "Even though I have the ability to self-heal and regenerate now, Douluo's snake venom has been integrated into my blood and flesh. And even a poison attribute warrior, even the soul and Contra can't completely clean out the snake venom soaked in my body. I'm afraid I will suffer the pain of snake venom backlash in this life. Fortunately, my soul power can suppress the attack of the poison, and I can tolerate it when it occurs. It's not in the way. What's more, it's not just Douluo's snake venom that soaks into my body. According to that Contra, what's eating back my body is a mixed poison, including phosphorus snake venom, cold poison, fire poison, and corpse poison, and the poison of the soul-eating demonic spider. Xiao San, I know that you are proficient in poison knowledge. You can refine an antidote that temporarily suppresses the backlash of toxins in my body. It has already helped me a lot." After hearing what his father said, Tang San felt extremely remorseful. Being proficient in medicine and poisons, he naturally saw that the symptoms of his father's poison just now were actually exactly the same as Douluo's symptoms of the backlash from his own snake venom. No, his father looked healthy now, but every part of his body's blood and flesh was mixed with various poisons. When a large amount of soul power is used or violent movements are made, it is very likely to cause a poisonous backlash. Tang San knew the pain caused by the backlash of Douluo's snake venom, and of course he could also understand the pain his father had to endure. After finally meeting his father, he was poisoned. What's even more hateful is that he is proficient in the preparation of poisons and antidotes, but he can't detoxify his father. Thinking of this, Tang San not only blamed himself, but was also filled with unwillingness and hatred. Dad, it's all my fault. If I hadn't been captured by Douluo, you wouldn't have suffered the pain of the snake venom's backlash. Don't worry, I was sure to cure the snake venom backlash in Douluo before, and now I can definitely help you clean up the remaining mixed poison in your body. Seeing his son's remorseful expression, Tang Hao's serious expression became gentler. He pointed to the ground and called, "Sit down." Tang San was stunned for a moment, but he still walked to the blue-gold-blue-silver grass and sat down cross-legged opposite his father. But he didn't understand what his father wanted him to do. "Xiao-san, remember, you are my Tang Hao's son. Even if you lose your life, I will not allow anyone to hurt you." Tang Hao said in a deep voice, "Don't think too much about this matter. Now you have to do you know what you are doing?" Tang San looked into his father's eyes and said firmly, "Improve my strength. At least, I should have the means to protect myself." "Not bad." Tang Hao took out 2 soul bones from somewhere, handed them to Tang San, and said, "These 2 soul bones are a 60,000-year-old right arm bone and a 50,000-year-old right leg bone." Hearing this, Tang San's eyes couldn't help but widen slightly, with a hint of shock on his face. With only level 34 soul power, he was very lucky to be able to come into contact with the 8 spider soul bones that were more than 2,000 years old. In his father's hand, the 2 soul bones on the body are actually more than 50,000 years old. The master told him that the chance of a soul bone appearing is only 1 in 1,000, or even lower. Therefore, soul bones have become extremely rare and extremely precious. Even a 1,000-year soul bone would arouse the interest of the major sect forces, let alone a soul bone that is 10,000 years old. I'm afraid some title don't have 10,000-year soul bones, right? What's more, what appeared in front of him was a soul bone with an age of more than 50,000 years, and there were 2 of them. The 8 spider spears with external soul bones that are only 2,000 years old are already so powerful. How much benefit will soul bones that are more than 50,000 years old bring to the soul master? Looking at the 2 soul bones handed over by his father, even Tang San, who had lived in 2 lifetimes, couldn't help but be a little fascinated. "Dad, this?" Tang San stared at Tang Hao in surprise, but hesitated to speak. "Take it." Tang Hao directly handed the 2 soul bones to Tang San. Tang San subconsciously caught the 2 soul bones, and the surging energy stopped in one place on his chest, giving him an indescribable feeling. "Dad, what about you?" Tang San asked. "Don't you also need soul bones? Aren't you curious about where I went?" Tang Hao said, "These days, I go to the Star Doe Forest to hunt soul beasts, looking for a left arm bone that suits me. I killed more than 20 soul beasts that have been cultivated for more than 50,000 years. The soul beast, among which the right arm bone and the right leg bone were discovered. After that, I killed all 3 generations of the descendants of the Demon Bear King family, and then I finally discovered the left arm bone I wanted. Now I have completed all the spirit bones in all parts of my body. I'll leave these extra right arm bones and right leg bones to you. But I only have level 34 soul power, and I can absorb soul bones that are more than 50,000 years old. Will I not be affected in any way?" Tang San asked. Tang Hao said seriously, "Didn't Master teach you? Absorbing soul rings is different from absorbing soul bones. Soul bones can be absorbed by the human body no matter how old they are. Okay, go ahead. After absorbing the soul bones, tomorrow, I will send you back to Shrek Academy." Speaking of this, Tang Hao looked at the blue-gold-blue-silver grass in front of him with a bit more complex emotions in his eyes and said, "You are practicing the blue-silver grass martial spirit now. In this regard, the master knows better than me. More, you still have to practice according to his guidance." Shrek Academy is now located in Tiando City, and Douluo seems to live here as well. Tang San said worriedly, "You don't have to worry about this. When I send you back to Shrek Academy, I will go to Douluo personally to settle the accounts. Tang Hao's eyes suddenly showed murderous intent. I want to settle the old and new debts with him, Tang San reminded. But Dad, you still have mixed poison backlash. Douluo is a master of using poison. He will definitely find that mixed poison remains in your body. When the time comes, he will use poison to help poison to deal with you. It is very likely that he will be poisoned to death. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Tang Hao's sharp shout frightened Tang San's body to tremble. After a moment of silence, Tang San put away the worry on his face and walked to the stone wall to absorb the soul bone. Seeing that the right arm bone and right leg bone were fusing with Tang San's corresponding parts, the guilt in Tang Hao's heart was relieved a little. The 100,000-year-old blue-silver emperor's right leg bone, originally left to Tang San, has been absorbed by himself. And now, he can only let his son absorb these two 50,000-year-old soul bones. However, what Tang Hao didn't know was how much change his absorption of the blue-silver emperor's right leg bone would bring to Tang San. After losing the blue-silver emperor's right leg bone, Tang San lost his ability to heal and regenerate. In the future, Tang San will have a set of soul bones that are all over 100,000 years old. Now that he has absorbed the 50,000-year-old right leg bone and 60,000-year-old right arm bone given by Tang Hao, it means that he will no longer be able to absorb them in the future. Right arm and leg bones that are 100,000 years old. Because he had lost the ability to regenerate the blue-silver emperor's right leg bone. And if he could not regenerate his broken arm, he would naturally not dare to cut off his own limbs to replace the two soul bones given by Tang Hao with 100,000-year soul bones. In other words, Tang San's absorption of these two soul bones may seem to have improved his strength, but it will undoubtedly destroy his future. Tang San didn't have the ability to predict the future, so it was impossible to know that he would get so many soul bones with a limit of more than 100,000 years in the future. Therefore, from his current perspective, soul bones that are over 50,000 years old are extremely rare, and their strength will definitely be greatly enhanced after absorption. When the time comes to face Lu Badian again, he will have more trump cards to fight against him. Tang Hao also couldn't predict the future. He couldn't possibly know that doing so would harm his son, which would fix Tang San's potential to become a god at the same level as him. The right arm bone and right leg bone were completely integrated with the body. Tang San could feel that his strength had been greatly improved. The skill attached to the right arm bone was strength increase, and the right leg bone skill was a displacement skill. In the spirit battle between Tiando Royal Academy and the Huangdo team, Lu Haoli left a deep impression on Tang San. During the battle, Tang San once doubted his ability because he could not break through Lu Haoli's indestructible body. Now with the soul bone skill to strengthen the clear sky hammer's attack, and the displacement skill to instantly get closer to the opponent, combined with the newly learned random cloak hammer method, this combination can definitely break through Lu Haoli's indestructible body and give him he was hit hard. Tang San didn't think that he was a person who was determined to retaliate. As a spirit master, he would stand up wherever he fell. The next time they fight again, Tang San vowed to let Lu Haoli experience what it was like to be beaten to the point of being autistic and doubtful about life. Xiao San, I have one more thing to tell you. Seeing that Tang San had absorbed two soul bones, Tang Hao said, in half a year, there will be the Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite Competition. After sending you back to Shrek Academy, I believe the Master will arrange for you to participate. Yours, the strength has been greatly improved, and your partners also have very good talents and strength. Under your leadership and the Master's tactical arrangements, it will not be difficult for Shrek Academy to win the championship. I heard from the Soul Douluo who helped me detoxify that the reward for the champion of the competition is 3 high-end soul bones, including an extremely rare soul bone with a head. When you allocate soul bones, remember, you must take that head soul bone as your own. For a soul master, the head soul bone is very important. Do you understand me? Yes, Tang San responded. Also, don't let others easily discover your right arm bone and right leg bone in the future. Otherwise, you will attract the prying eyes of greedy people like Douluo. Tang Hao warned. Remember, absolutely not let someone steal the soul bone from you. Chapter 120. Half a year later, breaking through level 60. Dad, I also have something to tell you. As he spoke, Tang San took out a bottle of antidote from his waist and handed it to Tang Hao, reminding, if the mixed poison backfires on you, remember to take the antidote. Also, when fighting, don't let Douluo's snake venom enter your body. Otherwise, the new poison will stimulate the toxicity of the old poison, putting you at a precarious disadvantage. Tang Hao took the bottle of antidote, stood up and said, "Let's go. I'll take you back to Shrek Academy now." Time flies, and half a year passes quickly. Half year later, after finishing his experience in Death Canyon, Lu Haoli returned to Douluo's home in Tiando City. The two hadn't seen each other for half a year and were sitting at the table drinking tea and chatting. Lu Haoli lied to Douluo, saying that he had gained a lot of knowledge during his travels in the mainland in the past 6 months. The purpose of hiding his training in Death Canyon was to prevent Douluo from knowing that he had some kind of relationship with Wuhuan Palace. Douluo truthfully told Lu Haoli about what happened in the past 6 months. Among them, what surprised Lu Haoli the most was that Tang Hao approached Douluo 6 months ago. It is said that Tang Hao's severed left arm and right leg grew back, and new left arm bones and right leg bones were absorbed, returning his strength to its peak. At that time, Tang Hao sought revenge on Douluo, and the two fought fiercely at the Ice and Fire Eyes. The battle was very fierce. Lu Haoli was full of surprise after listening to Douluo's story about the second battle with Tang Hao. His expression changed several times. Finally, he was relieved when he heard that Douluo had used the Bloody Swan Kiss poison pill he developed to repel Tang Hao. Lu Haoli said happily, "Senior, fortunately, I gave you the most poisonous poison pill in the world when I left half a year ago. Otherwise, you would definitely not be a match for Tang Hao at level 95. Yes, do you still have the poison pill? Give me a few more," Douluo said in surprise. "When I heard you boasted about the poison pill so much, I didn't believe it. But when I used that poison pill, when combined with the Jade Phosphorus Snake King venom, it can produce such a terrifying poison." "Nonsense," Lu Haoli said. "That poisonous elixir is made from Bloody Swan's Kiss and more than 10 kinds of highly toxic herbs. I might as well tell you that Bloody Swan's Kiss is a drug that can breed germs and poisons 100 times faster. Immortal flowers and plants, no matter how poisonous they are, once refined into a poisonous elixir with the Blood Swan Kiss, this poisonous elixir will become the most poisonous existence in the world. Think about it. After your Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor Martial Soul evolved into the Golden Scale Jade Snake Emperor, the snake venom became stronger. Coupled with the medicinal effect of the Blood Swan Kiss, the toxicity of your snake venom will be increased 100 times. Let's talk about level 95 Tang Hao. Even a super Douluo who has broken through level 96 will be poisoned to death if he is not careful. What's more, according to what you said, although Tang Hao has recovered, there is still Jade Phosphorus Snake Venom, corpse poison, cold poison, fire poison, and mixed poisonous backlash formed by various toxins in his body. Once the effect of the Bloody Swan Kiss acts on Tang Hao's body, then the various mixed poisons and germs remaining in his body will breed at 100 times the speed. Even if Tang Hao can suppress the growth of these toxins and germs with his soul power, he will become a useless person riddled with all kinds of diseases. After hearing this, Douluo was in a good mood and said with a smile, "Boy, let me tell you another good news. When Tang Hao was repelled by me, he was not only riddled with all kinds of diseases, but also his right arm was dissolved by my snake venom, and his right arm bone exploded. Now Tang Hao's right arm bone has been absorbed by me. Calculated in this way, I have a total of 4 soul bones in my body. They are the head soul bones that originally belonged to me. They were from Tang Hao before. The left arm bone and right leg bone that exploded from Hao's body. There is also the right arm bone that exploded from his body half a year ago. If it's a one-on-one fight, I'm not afraid of any opponent below level 95. If it's a group fight, I can kill all titled Douluo below level 92. At this point, Douluo asked again, "Boy, do you still have that poison pill refined by the Blood Swan Kiss? With its help, I can even defeat a 96th level titled Douluo." Now that he and Douluo were life and death friends, and he had established a relationship with Douluo, Lu Haoli did not intend to hide anything from him. He took out 4 small silver boxes from the Ring Soul Guide and placed them on the table, saying, Blood swan kisses belong to fairy flowers and plants and can be used to refine up to 5 poison pills. I have already given 1 to you. There are 4 left. Now, let's divide it equally. 2 for you and 2 for me. As he spoke, Lu Baobao pushed 2 small silver boxes to Douluo's desk. Douluo opened the lids of 2 small boxes at the same time, and inside each there was a black poison pill refined by a bloody swan kiss. The smell emitted by this black poisonous elixir is extremely unpleasant, and the more unpleasant the poisonous elixir is, the more toxic it contains. Douluo put the 2 small boxes into the soul guide and said with satisfaction, "Boy, thank you. With these 2 poison pills, if Tang Hao dares to provoke me again, I will let him die without a burial place." Lu Baobao put the remaining 2 small boxes into the ring soul guide and said, "Senior, so you let Tang Hao go because you wanted to let Tang Hao absorb the soul bones and then explode the soul bones from him?" "That's right," Douluo said with a sinister smile. "Next time Tang Hao comes to seek revenge from me, I will use corrosive poison to turn him into pus, and then his torso bones will also be mine. Do you have a right leg bone now? If another right leg bone comes out of Tang Hao's body, leave that right leg bone to me." Lu Bao instructed. Douluo snorted. "What? You want soul bones too?" Lu Baohai nodded, thinking that Tang Hao had the ability to regenerate a broken arm, which was most likely due to the absorption of the Blue Silver Emperor's right leg bone. This is a 100,000-year-old right leg bone with self-healing, regeneration, and flight capabilities. How could he not want such a practical soul bone? By the way, kid, where have you been practicing in the past 6 months? Douluo's green eyes shone with a glimmer of light, as if he could clearly see the changes in Lu Bao's body. "You seem to be stronger. In just half a year, I really can't think of any place where people can achieve such amazing growth. What level is your soul power now?" Lu Bao took a sip of tea and replied, "Level 60. "Oh, level 60, that's okay." After replying, Douluo's calm expression suddenly changed. "What did you say? Level 60? Half a year ago, you seemed to be only level 50, right? You're a monster?" Lu Liang smiled angrily. "Am I not a monster? You are indeed a monster. I have never seen anyone with a 4th soul ring for 10,000 years." Douluo said bitterly. He was a little envious of Lu Bao's talent. "What's the point?" Lu Liang said. "My 5th soul ring is a growable soul ring. It will grow with my growth like the attached soul bone. Before, it was only 50,000 years. Now, my 5th spirit ring has been upgraded to 60,000 years. In another 2 or 3 years, it might become a 100,000-year spirit ring." This Douluo showed undisguised surprise on his face. Ever since the Bloody Swan Kiss poison pill helped him leapfrog and defeat Tang Hao, he had believed every word of Lu Baoli. Douluo suddenly remembered something, took out a pink plant from his ring soul guide, and said, "Not long ago, I went to the southern grassland to look for soul beasts related to snakes, and I found a plant with 2 eyes related to ice and fire. The nearby herbs are very similar to the plant. I can see that this plant is extraordinary, but I don't recognize it." "Boy, you are proficient in herbal knowledge. Can you recognize this thing?" Looking at a pink plant that looked like rice in Douluo's hand, Lu Baoli's pupils couldn't help but dilate slightly. "Holy soul grass." Lu Hao wiped his eyes and looked again. "Isn't this plant with pink light all over its body a medicinal material called holy soul grass?" "Holy soul grass. What is that?" Douluo was curious. Lu Baolai said in surprise, "Holy soul grass is an auxiliary medicinal material. It is said to have the effect of awakening the soul if it is taken together with certain plants. Under the combined effect of each other's medicinal effects, it can produce the effect of resurrecting the dead." Treatment effect. Resurrection from the dead. Douluo looked at the pink plant in his hand in surprise. "Can this plant bring people back to life?" Lu Haoliang really looked into Douluo's eyes and said, "Senior, I have a heartfelt request." Douluo understood it immediately, handed the holy soul grass to Lu Bao, and said cheerfully, "I know what you want to say. Anyway, I don't know how to use it, just take it." Lu Bao took the holy soul grass and put it into the bag of wishful treasures. Then he bowed slightly to Douluo and thanked. "Senior, thank you very much. Are you so polite to me?" Douluo sneered. Have we not seen each other for half a year, and our relationship has become estranged? What? When do you plan to obtain the sixth soul ring? Do you need my help? No need for the time being. Lu Bao said, the soul beast I want to hunt this time is quite special, so I need to think about it in the long term. Oh. Douluo was curious. What soul beast do you want to hunt? Dark, evil god tiger. Hearing this name, a trace of bitterness and helplessness appeared on Douluo's face, and he sighed. When did I, Douluo, become so ignorant? How come I haven't heard of anything you said? All in all, the dark demon evil god tiger is powerful enough to rival the titled Douluo, and it has a special one-on-one skill. It is difficult to defeat it without someone above level 96. As he spoke, Lu Haoli stood up and said goodbye to Douluo. Senior, I think I have to say goodbye first. I haven't returned to the academy for half a year. I should go to the 3 education committee members and His Royal Highness to report the situation. Okay, tell me when you think about hunting the soul beast. Douluo also stood up and said responsibly, I promise, as long as it is what you want, I will do it myself. Lu Haoli nodded, left the table, and walked towards the door of the hall. Douluo followed to see him off. At this moment, Douluo returned home and opened the door. As soon as he entered the door, the first thing he saw was Lu Haoli. This is the second time that Lu Haoli has left Tiando Royal Academy. Douluo, who has already established a relationship with him, thought she would have to wait another year to meet him, but now they bump into each other at home. At this time, the longing she had suppressed for half a year showed up. In those blue eyes, Douluo wiped the tears from his eyes and ran to Lu Haoli and Douluo because he could not suppress his excitement. Seeing his granddaughter rushing toward him, Douluo's plain face suddenly turned gentle, and he opened his hands with a smile, trying to put his granddaughter into his arms. Unexpectedly, his granddaughter walked past him and threw herself directly into Lu Bao's arms. At this moment, Douluo was crying, and there was only one sentence in his mind. There is no chance for a female university to stay. In order to avoid embarrassment, Douluo immediately stretched his open hands, turned his neck in a circle, moved his body, and said to himself, well, I am in good condition today. Why not go and have a fight at Jiawan? Hearing Grandpa's voice, Douluo left Lu Haoli's arms and rushed towards Grandpa. Douluo hugged his granddaughter and laughed. Yin, today is not a day off. Why are you back? I don't know either. Douluo said, I just thought there would be a surprise when I got home, so I hurried back. As he spoke, Douluo left her grandfather's arms, glared at Lu Bao with a look of resentment, and warned, Liang, if you leave the academy for such a long time in the future, I will castrate you. Before Lu Baohai could speak, Douluo touched his granddaughter's head and said, Yin, look at what you said. Are you willing to do it? Of course I'm willing to give it up, Douluo said angrily. It saves him from having fun outside and leaves me alone to guard the empty room. Lu Haoli pulled Douluo into his arms and hugged her waist tightly. When he was training in Death Canyon, he often dealt with Xiaoyu, Hulaina, and Yin. Every time he was alone with Hulaina in the Shadow Mountain Forest, he would be disappointed. He had evil intentions, but he held it back. Now that the woman he could play with will appeared in front of him, how could Lu Haoli not miss him? He wanted to go back to the academy to discuss hunting with Shui Qingyi about hunting the dark demon tiger, and also wanted to see Douluo as soon as possible. Yin, so I can vent the evil thoughts I have been holding back for the past 6 months. Yinzi, I'm sorry, Lu Haoli said. I will sleep at your house tonight and spend more time with you. After hearing this, the resentment on Douluo's face disappeared. Instead of complaining, she hugged Lu Haoli tightly. She cherished this moment because Lu Haoli might tell her to leave the academy for a while. Grandpa, where are you going? Douluo found Douluo walking out of the house. I'm going to have a fight with that old chrysanthemum tonight, so I won't go home. You young people can play whatever you want, just don't kill anyone. The next day morning, Douluo, Lu Haoli, and Douluo walked out and rushed back to Tiando Royal Academy together. Yinzi, I'll give you something. As he spoke, Lu Bao took out 5 pill beads of different colors from the Ring Soul Guide and handed them to Douluo, saying, these are the elixirs I developed using immortal herbs. Among them, The 3 golden elixirs are made from the Kirong Tian chrysanthemum. There are 5 pills in total. I took one before and kept one. Now, please help me give these 3 elixirs to brothers Tianheng and Shimo. Also, the 2 white elixirs are made from a kind of fairy flower called Narcissus Jade Muscle and Bone. You can help me give them to Yufeng and Osluo. The remaining light blue elixir is made from Kiliuo. What I have learned from Tulip will be given to Lingling. Dogu Yin took the 6 elixirs and asked curiously, "Why don't you give them yourself?" "Because Tianheng and Osluo are both children of a big family. It will cause a lot of inconvenience if I give them to them in person," Lu Haoli explained. "But if you give these elixirs to Tianheng in the name of poison Douluo, if you keep them, their family will not be ill-willed towards you. In short, just do as I say." "Okay." Dogu put away the 6 elixirs and held Lu Bao's hand. Just like the last resistance and mountain climbing training, they walked hand in hand and walked towards the direction of Tiando Royal Academy. Chapter 121, The Youngest Soul Emperor Mourning. Tiando Royal Academy. After returning to Tiando Royal Academy with Dogu, this morning's practical class still followed teacher Shi Gao's teaching method, resistance plus mountain climbing training. At the foot of the mountain, looking at the stone steps that lead directly to the top of the mountain, the students in class 1 of Tiando class are no longer so afraid. After half a year of adaptation, they have all completed the course requirements and can climb halfway up the mountain under the pressure of huge resistance. What's more, you can already reach the top of the mountain directly. Among them, Yu Tianheng, Osluo, Yu Feng, Graphite Shiramo, and Dogu were the outstanding students who reached the top of the mountain. Yi Lingling is an auxiliary soul master with relatively weak physical strength, but he successfully climbed to the top with the help of 6 people. However, the resistance before was only formed by 4 layers of soul power. Today, Shi Gao planned to strengthen the resistance and use 5 layers of soul power to use the 4th soul skill Black Turtle Suppression, increasing the resistance covering the stone steps to 5 times. The 5th level of soul power means that if you want to withstand the restrictions of resistance, you must at least have a physical strength comparable to that of a soul king. For half a year, Yu Tianheng and others have been persisting in resistance and mountain climbing training. Even though they do not have the physical fitness of the Soul King, they have a certain immunity to the resistance restrictions. Therefore, it was possible for them to withstand the resistance of Shi Gao's 5th level soul power release. Osluo, Yu Tianheng, and Yu Feng looked at each other and saw the proud look on each other's faces. Liang, you have been away from the academy for half a year, so you must have neglected the training of resistance and mountain climbing, right? Oslo said with a smile. You will definitely not be able to outrun us this time. We will leave you behind in a moment, and we will see if you still fight for it. Don't steal the limelight. Leopard, do you think you can do it again? I have indeed not done resistance and mountain climbing training in the past 6 months, but the dangers I have experienced are beyond what you can compare to. The dark environment, the dangerous valley, and surrounded by ferocious groups of soul beasts, I face the threat of death all the time. After half a year of experience, I have become much stronger than before, and the gap between you and me is already obvious. There is no way you can catch up with me again. As he spoke, Lu Bao couldn't help but recall his experience in the Death Canyon over the past 6 months. He had never been to the Killing City, but the danger level of staying in the Death Canyon for the first half of the year was definitely no less than the Killing City. Xiaoyu, Hulaina, and Yin at least had strong people secretly guaranteeing their safety, but Lu Hao did not. In the past 6 months, Lu Baol could only rely on himself, relying on the cover of the Black Shadow Corps, relying on his extremely vigilant consciousness, and relying on his increasingly powerful strength to survive. Only when you are infinitely close to death can you continuously stimulate your potential. In just half a year of experience in the Death Canyon, in the fight with that group of powerful soul beasts, what improved Lu Baol the most was not his soul power, but his combat consciousness and combat skills. Facing the threats of various soul beasts in Death Canyon, one must ensure that one's own soul power and physical strength are sufficient. To do this, one can only use the least consumption of soul power to kill the opponent as quickly as possible. Therefore, the skills Lu Baohao honed in Death Canyon are the most practical killing techniques. At the same time, nourished by the darkness and evil aura of the canyon, and the improved physique of the fairy grass. Lu Bao's physical strength has also been improved unprecedentedly. The sixth soul ring can completely absorb the soul ring of the dark demon evil god tiger. To survive in Death Canyon, one must always maintain calm judgment and restrain one's aura. So now Lu Baoli gives people a calm feeling. In the eyes of others, he seems to have not improved much in strength in half a year. I am afraid that only teacher Shigao can see the changes in Lu Bao's body. This mysterious calmness makes even Shigao, a 78th level soul saint, feel uneasy. What does it mean to be silent and become a blockbuster? Shigao thought to himself that he couldn't see any changes in Lu Baodi now, but he would know how strong he was when he did resistance and mountain climbing training later. I'll give you 1 minute to prepare. The training will begin after I reach the top of the mountain. Those who cannot climb to the top of the mountain as required will be punished by running with a heavy tortoise shell on their backs tomorrow. As he spoke, Shigao put his hands behind his back and stepped onto the stone steps towards the top of the mountain. 1 minute later, powerful energy flows down from the top of the mountain like a stream, coating the stone steps leading to the top of the mountain with a soft, transparent color. Teacher Shigao's voice sounded from the top of the mountain. 5 times the resistance. Training begins. After hearing this, the students stepped onto the stone steps, one after another. Due to the resistance and oppression for half a year, the students' physical strength has undergone qualitative changes, and they have also gained a certain immunity to the resistance restrictions. Yu Tianheng and Osluo ran up the stone steps as easily as if the resistance did not act on them. Even Yi Lingling can trot under 5 times the resistance and move forward on the stone steps without the help of outsiders. Lu Liang was still standing at the foot of the mountain without climbing the stone steps, watching the students on the stone steps. Currently, the leaders were Yu Tianheng, Osluo, and Yu Feng, followed closely by Graphite Shimo. The 2 brothers, followed by Dogu Yin, deliberately slowed down and ran with Yi Lingling. Behind the 7 people were every member of the Tiando level squad. Everyone has become stronger. Lu Baoli thought to himself that teacher Shigao's training methods were really powerful. He had made Yu Tianheng and his team so strong in just half a year. If they were to fight against the Shrek 7 monsters again, Lu Baoli believed that even if he was not around, Yu Tianheng and the others would be able to completely defeat Tang Sanqi and the others. As he stepped onto the first stone step, Lu Baoli instantly felt a light pressure on his body, like wet clothes sticking to his back. Recalling the first time he received resistance and mountain climbing training, Lu Baoli smiled lightly. The first time, he could not move an inch under the resistance. Now he is bearing 5 times the resistance limit, like a reverse breeze. It's so easy to pass over my face. After all, my body is strong enough to withstand the load caused by burning 5 soul rings at the same time. How difficult is it to face this mere 5 times the resistance? Looking at his companions who were running upwards despite the resistance, Lu Bu smiled and told them to run to the middle of the mountain first. Otherwise, he would bully them too much with his level 60 soul power.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.